One Piece Blades of Fire Chapter 341-360. Chapter 341 _ In this village, there seems to be some secrets mixed in, but Ninki can't feel Chakra, that mysterious man. If he really came from the same way as Zhang Yang, then everything will become more complicated. Not to mention that in terms of ninjutsu, Zhang Yang's identity will not be exposed, let alone helping Konoha. Even whether he can go back is a problem. Having said that, although Neji's injury was not a serious injury, and it was checked that there was no poison, but Neji's lips were pale, her face was a little blue, and she was slightly sunken. This way, it makes people feel as if they are going to be squeezed dry by something. Although Zhang Yang knew some medical ninjutsu, it was not enough, he could only temporarily suppress the injury. In the evening, there was only some noise in this quiet village, squeaking, and Zhang Yang and Asma took Neji to hide in the tree. Wait and see. They found that more and more people came out from all directions to gather together, and when all the people gathered under the big locust tree in the village, the person who fought with Zhang Yang in the morning slowly appeared. Surrounded by a group of white wolves, he walked to the front of the villagers, with the appearance of an official giving a speech. Every villager of White Wolf Village, our village has been destroyed by the Konoha people, and there is this child. Although there are many ninjas in Konoha, they are cruel and ruthless, even such a small child. Then he took out the child who stabbed Neji in the morning. Zhang Yang's eyes widened. It was impossible, all the men in the village were still alive, but there were only a handful of women. The secret letter clearly stated that the man was killed. Why is this happening? Although the man was deceiving the villagers of White Wolf Village didn't know ninjutsu. Shouldn't he be like Madara when he wanted to fight against Konoha? To find a way to gather some people with special ninjutsu. Zhang Yang is still thinking. Immediately after that, I heard the man say, I have already dealt with the wolves that ate women, and even the vicious wolves, I can make them obey me. Please believe me, and I will definitely lead you to go. I want Konoha's revenge. At this moment, there was a voice from the ground. Long live Lord Dazang, long live Bailong Village. More and more voices followed. Looking at these crazy villagers, Zhang Yang and Asma decided to observe the movements of these villagers first. After all, if there is a large-scale battle here, innocent people will be hurt. After the villagers kept shouting, Zhang Yang found that their glasses seemed to be the same as those of Dazang. Almost all of them were white eyes, and they didn't look like white eyes. In short, staring at those eyes will make people surrounded by fear. Zhang Yang saw at once in the battle, it seems that consciousness will be deprived. And the villagers actually have such eyes. According to Konoha's investigation, if there is a small village with this ability not far away, it is impossible to find out until now. After all, this is a big threat to the ninja world. Once this incident is exposed, it will definitely attract some people like Akatsuki's organization to come. At that time, the consequences will be unimaginable. After the villagers had all dispersed, Zhang Yang used the technique of hiding his breath. Although he was still hiding relatively concealed, who knows if those eyes would still have the ability to see through your movements. Asma on the side looked at Zhang Yang and couldn't help sighing. Although it is not difficult to hide his breath, no one has been able to learn this ninjutsu at the age of Zhang Yang. Suddenly I felt that maybe the appearance of Zhang Yang could really bring hope to the world of ninjas. Zhang Yang followed the villagers to the ancestral hall of the village. The villagers stopped at the entrance of the ancestral hall. At this time, a slightly older man walked out. However, Zhang Yang found that the eyes of the elder were normal. Then the elder said to the villagers, Children, the revenge of your family has finally had the opportunity to avenge. This time, it is the ability given to us by Lord Dazang. We must unite and let Muyi taste the power of our white wolf. The villagers also responded to the elder's words with actions. But no one realized that the elder was actually different from them. After the villagers stopped shouting, the elder said, Friends from afar, eavesdropping is not a good habit, please show up. If it's not our enemy, please ask you show your true colors to the world. If you are an enemy, please leave your life and pay the price for your eavesdropping. Quote. Hey, Isn't this person a little angry? But the villagers gradually turned their heads. Looking at this situation, it seems that they already knew that Zhang Yang was eavesdropping on the tree. Is it useless to hide his breath? Zhang Yang thought to himself, oops, I have to leave, and I must not act rashly without understanding that kind of eyesight. Neji is already injured, so let's check the news first and then decide. Zhang Yang was really about to leave, and just about to go back, but found that Dazang, who the villagers were talking about, was holding his knife and was about to slash at Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang couldn't hide. Looking at the man's eyes, he couldn't move at all. Wow, am I not the main character? Is it fake? Can't I escape today? Zhang Yang thought. Gradually, he lost consciousness. When he woke up, he found that he seemed to be in some cave, trapped in an iron cage, and there seemed to be something on the cage, making babbling sounds from time to time. As it is now, there seems to be no way. Zhang Yang remembered what Fu Lang said before, could that person called Dazang come from another world? So the choice that Fu Lang said was who was more suitable between him and Dazang. If this is the case, then in the choice that Fu Lang made, if he loses, then Konoha or the entire world of ninjas may have a big turmoil. And after that, it will be a mess, and it may be better than the world in the original book. More sad. Although he is not someone who has some kind of dream in the world, but hey, it's really troublesome. Although I have seen the world I once longed for, and I can see the people I want to meet, is it worth it to risk my life for all this? However, Zhang Yang paused, forming an upward arc at the corner of his mouth and said in a casual but serious tone, well, I like sleeping here quite a bit. After all, they are not bad to me, so let's fight. Let's fight. When Zhang Yang made up his mind, he heard the sound of footsteps coming from the cave. Hey, it's really troublesome. It's coming so soon. Well, forget it. Having said that, he rose up, ready to meet the huge storm that was about to hit him. Chapter 342 The Crisis of Publicity. Zhang Yang, finally found you. Fu Lang is in your body. Dazang asked. His voice was a little low, with a little hoarseness. Zhang Yang smiled, crossed his hands on the back of his head, lay on the ground with Erlang's legs crossed, and just replied, although I don't know why you know about Fu Lang, he is not in my body now. There's no one else here, so stop pretending. Hee, sure enough, you are not from this world. Besides, Fu Lang chose me, so you should give up. You are also an outsider in this world, and you are embarrassing each other with suffering. Okay. After Dazang finished speaking, he went out. He came over for a while and brought a person back. The person was wearing black and red clothes and a swirl mask. That's with soil. I don't need to remind you who he is. How did you find Obito? Zhang Yang was a little panicked, although his ability was indeed high for a ninja, but now he couldn't move at all. Besides, you must know that Obito can pull the tailed beast out of the body. Even if you take it out, you won't die. No, it will die. As long as Fu Lang leaves his body, there is no way to go back to his original world. It's fine if you can't go back, but... what is this mysterious man thinking? Does he want Fu Lang to destroy Konoha or go to another world? In any case, it is necessary to stop it. That being the case. Hey, what's your name? Dazang Mian. I've been thinking, you're not really capable at all, are you? And the people in this village, where are the women? You're dying anyway, so I'll tell you. I buried all the old, weak, sick and disabled in the village. What? Zhang Yang heard this, which made him a little angry. Everything I do is for the future. Konoha is a stumbling block in reaching the goal. Sooner or later, it will be eradicated. If it wasn't for Konoha, I still couldn't convince Obito. Zhang Yang didn't speak, just clenched his fists. And Zangbu Dazang was also happy to see Zhang Yang's angry look. If he hadn't wanted to get Fu Lang sooner, he would have been trying to provoke Zhang Yang's anger. After all, in this world, only Zhang Yang and him were of the same kind, and he didn't know Zhang Yang's abilities at all. However, Zhang Yang has seen his own abilities, so he must be strong first. Obito, I will never let you go. Good. Enough, this farce should end. Zhang Yang said. A layer of white light appeared around the body about a few centimeters away, and Obito and Dazang also realized that something was wrong. At this time, Zhang Yang seemed to have changed. Human-like, the whole person exudes a different aura. He slowly raised his head. This really startled Obito, and then Zhang Yang directly supported the two iron railings on the cage. Slowly, the iron railings melted. Zhang Yang walked out unhurriedly. Obito, I understand your feelings for Lin, but it's almost impossible for you to create a world with Lin. Lin, she lives in another world. She lives in another world. Wouldn't want you to do that either. After speaking, he rushed forward quickly and shouted, You bastard. Then there was a loud bang, and Dazang was knocked out of the cave. At this time of Zhang Yang, some fog came out of his body. If Naruto is present at this time, he will definitely complain, is this a human-shaped spray? It's light and foggy. I saw that the fog slowly condensed, it was in the shape of a knife, and then Zhang Yang reached out and grabbed it, and what was originally fog turned into a real knife in an instant. And Obito was still standing there thinking, what happened just now? How did this young man do it at such a fast speed? And now that he is at a disadvantage, he originally wanted to take out the beast sealed in Zhang Yang's body and requisition it, but he didn't expect that Dazang would be so useless. Well, let's go first. I'll find an opportunity to deal with Konoha's gang in the future. But now it seems that Konoha seems to be more difficult to deal with. After that, Obito left through Kamui. And Dazang also stood up at this time, patted the dust on his body, wiped the blood on the bandage with his hands, and mentioned his big knife, and carried it on his shoulder. He said calmly, so reciprocal, Zhang Yang. I didn't read it wrong, today is your day of death. Saying that, he rushed up. Zhang Yang didn't bother to say anything, and saw that the two suddenly collided and separated again. He couldn't see how the two of them were fighting each other. Only the sound of bang 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 can be heard, and the two seem to be on the same level. And Asma, looking for the sound, found the cave. Seeing that the two were fighting, after Zhang Yang and Dazang separated, he immediately formed a seal, the ashes are burning. At this moment, a cloud of smoke spewed out of Asma's mouth, covering Oso. Immediately after he and Zhang Yang reunited, protect him behind him, although Zhang Yang's strength may not be worse than Asma. Asma thought that Zhang Yang was still a child after all. He may also be the one who can completely change the world of ninjas. At the same time, Zhang Yang and the others heard a wolf howl, which was very loud. Slowly the wolves gathered from all directions. At the same time, Asma quickly threw the lighter out, fire escape lighter technique. After that, ash was ignited in an instant. Of course, Asma knew that the person who could compete with Zhang Yang was definitely not an ordinary person and could not be taken lightly. Immediately afterwards, Zhang Yang threw out his chakra knife while the fire was still burning, and used the wind to control it. At the same time, the chakra with a faint blue light flickered in the lit ash. You must know that a knife infused with chakra can easily cut through a stone. However, Dazang looked at the wolves around him, the art of escaping the great waterfall by water. At this time, a stream of water rose from the river not far in front, surrounded the city in a circle, and gradually filled the entire ball. After that, the entire water ball was thrown towards the burning flame, and a large amount of water vapor was released at the moment of contact. Slowly getting thicker. Dazang also did not come out. Due to the evaporation of a large amount of water vapor, the fog formed reduced the surrounding visibility, and this, for the wolves, was undoubtedly beneficial. Although the wolves do not pose any threat to Zhang Yang, in this case, the ghost knows what will happen in the next second. Dazang hasn't appeared since just now, and I don't know where he went. In White Wolf Village, the villagers have already discussed to raid Konoha in the evening. Although most of them are not skilled in ninjutsu, they all have detonating charms on themselves, and it seems that they plan to perish with Konoha's people. Chapter 343 The Death of Chaos. When Zhang Yang and Asma were fighting against Dazang, Ningji discovered the actions of the villagers. After seeing the battle between Asma and Zhang Yang not far away with his white eyes, he felt deeply that he couldn't do anything at the moment. Powerless. He has always believed that people in this world can't fight their fate, but at this moment he hates his incompetence. It seems that he is dragging them down. For some reason, it seemed that Neji wouldn't be affected by those eyes. The injury on his body was actually fine. He felt that he had also rested for so long, and his physical strength seemed to have returned, so he jumped off the locust tree. Look, is that Konoha's man? Ah, yes, look at the forehead guard he wears, that's Konoha's sign. What an evil sign. Saying that, the villagers rushed towards Neji. On the other side, due to the fog blocking the line of sight, Zhang Yang and Asma could only distinguish by listening to the sound, but the wolves walked almost silently. So it's even more difficult to know where they are. At this moment, I suddenly heard two squeaks, which were supposed to be the sound of a sharp blade passing in the gust of wind. Asma and Zhang Yang avoided at the same time, but Asma's face slowly appeared to a shallow slender the mouth, blood slowly spilled out. At this time, the wolves smelled the smell of blood and swarmed up. You know, ferocious wolves are extremely sensitive to the smell of blood. Those women and children in the village, as long as a little blood is drawn, the wolves will frantically run towards the food. What a wonderful picture. Zhang Yang, do you like this gift? Ha 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 ha. Asma and Zhang Yang leaned on their backs, gritted their teeth and said, is this person crazy? So crazy. Not long after he finished speaking, the wolves rushed towards Asma. At this time, although Asma was able to temporarily throw the first few wolves out of his body, it became more and more difficult to make appointments later. So much so that the big leg was bitten by a white wolf, and the wolf's teeth were embedded in the flesh. Asma endured the pain, and then several wolves rushed up, those wolves sucking blood greedily. Afterwards, Asma quickly made a seal, wind-done whirlwind fist. He used the power of the wind to disperse the fog with his fists, and then Zhang Yang ran out from this direction. With the attack of the fist, he rushed out with the spiral pill on his right hand, and charged towards Dazo head-on. When Dazang blocked Zhang Yang's attack with a big knife, and slowly condensed chakra on his left hand, a spiral pill appeared in an instant and was about to hit Zhang Yang's heart. The moment he touched, he heard a bang. The Zhang Yang in front of Dazang disappeared. At this moment, Zhang Yang jumped down from the tree behind Dazang. In his right hand, there was a rubbed black spiral pill, and in his left hand he held the taiku knife. At that moment, he looked like a ghost descending from the sky. By the time Dazang noticed, it was too late. Zhang Yang's face was expressionless, perhaps because Dazang's previous words really angered Zhang Yang. The atmosphere at the moment seemed to be a trial, a massacre. But Dazang looked at Zhang Yang with strange eyes, as if he was looking at a child who had been following him all the time, but suddenly surpassed him. He was a little relieved and puzzled. But this time, Zhang Yang looked at him, but his eyes did not deprive him of his consciousness at all. Probably these eyes can only deprive the consciousness of those who are weak and who are only thinking of running away. After all, in the world of ninjas, it is often necessary to fight for life. Besides, for Zhang Yang, there are things here that really make him cherish. So at this time, Zhang Yang was just thinking about defeating Dazang, and nothing else mattered. It doesn't matter if you give your life. Perhaps, Zhang Yang is as pure as Sasuke. Before Dazang fell, Zhang Yang heard him say, "You've already fallen in, Zhang Yang." He was still smiling. He laughed so exaggeratedly and terribly, as if he had never regarded death as one thing. Zhang Yang looked at his face, and seemed to suddenly understand in his heart that in this era, death is too close to everyone's life, just like a gale. The human body is really too light, and when you blow it casually, you will be scattered. Do people who walk on the tip of a knife every day still fear death? Zhang Yang didn't dare to think about it anymore. When the spiral pill hit Dazang and the taiku knife cut him in the waist, Zhang Yang was still expressionless. After a while, Zhang Yang fainted inexplicably, and the taiku knife also turned back into a fog, returning to Zhang Yang's body. At this moment, Fu Lang looked at the young man in front of him. Sure enough, my choice is correct. I mean, this kid's ability is not bad. Fu Lang reconciled the chakra in the body for Zhang Yang, and said in his mouth, "You owe me a big favor again, but you have paid it back." Asma was exhausted in the fight with the wolves. These wolves seemed to be different from ordinary white wolves, but they were also consumed by asthma. After the taste, they all ran to the other side. And Zhang Yang, who fell next to Da Zhang, was also rescued by asthma. Before that, asthma had fired a signal flare beforehand while waiting for an opportunity outside the cave. As for Neji, facing the sudden attack of the villagers, he could only dodge all the time. At present, he doesn't seem to be able to use ninjutsu such as soft boxing. Moreover, these villagers are ordinary people who don't understand ninjutsu. They are only deceived by Dazang because of the pain of losing their family members and being swallowed up by hatred. Because of Neji's father, he was able to understand these villagers. So, regardless of whether he could use ninjutsu or not, Neji didn't plan to do anything to these villagers. The villagers found that Neji had no intention of fighting back, so they jointly took him down, tied his hands and feet with ropes and caught him to the ancestral hall. "Ninja of Konoha, are you here to atone for your sins?" the white-haired old man asked. There is probably some misunderstanding in this. It is impossible for Konoha to do such a thing. Killing women and children who are helpless is not ashamed of the ninja. Neji thought, or to clarify the ins and outs of things. If you ninjas know that we are the descendants of the White Wolf, it is inevitable that you will not use force for strength, even for the women and children who are powerless to the power you said. No, this is absolutely impossible. Neji listened to the elder's words, and he was puzzled, as if some were shaken. So, what do you want us to do? The elder continued to ask Neji. The surroundings of the shrine are still very quiet. Neji replied, the reason for this matter has not been investigated clearly. It is not necessarily what Konoha did. Before he could finish speaking, Neji felt that there were different voices around him, as if the surrounding villagers were discussing. Look at what he said in a high-sounding manner. It must be because he is from Konoha that he protects his village. How can he be right with our dead family when he says so? Everyone in Konoha should pay for their crimes. The voices in my ears are getting louder and louder. On the other hand, Neji also had a dull expression on his face. His eyes were dull, and his head was lowered. After a while, the elder slowly raised his head, looked into his eyes, and asked loudly, "What about your father's death?" He sacrificed for Konoha's, but no one remembers him till now. Except you. Ningqi didn't answer. The elder put his head close to Ningqi's ear and whispered, "Your father must hope you avenge him. Look at what your father looked like when he died." For the mission, Konoha easily took it away. Your father's life. He was controlled by the Hinata family during his lifetime, and he will not be remembered after his death. Don't you hate him at all? Neji's eyes were still dim. Chapter 344: A Sneak Attack at Night. Anbu, who came after receiving the flare, took Asma and Zhang Yang back to the village and reported to the Hokage office. Master Tsunade, I went to the place where the flares were fired, and found that only Asma Senpai and Zhang Yang were lying there, and Neji was not found, but there were obvious signs of fighting, but no enemy was seen. But there is one clothes cut from the waist. And the White Wolf village is empty, but the ancestral hall is full of young women and children's spirit tablets. What, cut off? Yes, it looks like the shape was cut off by a knife or a kunai or something. And on the locust tree in front of the ancestral hall of Bailong village, there is a secret sign to remind us that there are enemies. But when we got there, we found no trace of the enemy. Okay, you go back first. Step up your patrol today. My subordinate understands. At this time, Mute asked, Master Tsunade, will Ningji-kun be okay, and why do you want to strengthen the patrolling of the guards? After the betrayal of the Uchiha clan, the number of ninjas that the village can send out is greatly reduced. Neji is probably fine. After all, I agreed to the Day of the Sun. Besides, if someone wants to threaten the village, the smarter ones know that they are used as hostages. The enemy is more valuable than killing. I'm afraid today will be a sleepless night. Tsunade walked to the window and looked at the moon that was gradually obscured by dark clouds. In the evening, the elders of White Wolf Village quietly walked to Konoha with Neji and the villagers followed behind Neji. When they arrived at Konoha's gate, the elder whispered a few more words in Neji's ear. Neji walked to the gate and said to Izumo and Ziti, I was out on a mission, and because of my injuries, someone plotted to fall from under a tree into a crypt. It was thanks to those kind-hearted villagers that they were saved. Those villagers were killed by those wandering ninjas killed their family members and fled. After saving me, I hope Konoha can take them in for one night. I thought there was nothing wrong and brought them. I believe Naruto-sama will agree. After listening to Izumo, he hesitated and said, wait a minute, wait for me to report to Tsunade-sama. Okay. Neji stood still, and when Izumo was walking towards the village, a backhand knocked him unconscious. Looking at the scene in front of him, Ziti rushed to Ninki and asked him, what are you doing? However, Neji didn't answer, but grabbed Zitai's shoulder with his hand and threw him over his shoulder. Then another backhand turned Zitai over, bending his hand back, like a common policeman catching a thief. After that, the villagers of White Wolf Village joined forces and threw the two at the door. After all, there were wolves in the forest outside the village. Everyone from White Wolf Village came into Konoha. A few of them obeyed the elders' orders and dispersed around on the street. After the main force was a little farther away, they heard the sound of boom, followed by one time. Then the people on the street began to flee in the opposite direction to the sound of the explosion. Since the explosions were all around the entrance and exit, the panicked people fled in the direction of the Hokage office. After hearing the noise outside, Tsunade picked up his jacket and planned to go out to have a look. At this time, Mute hurried up to stop Tsunade and said, Lord Tsunade, there is an explosion outside, and someone broke into the village. It is highly likely that you will mix with the fleeing crowd, and if you go down now, you may be in danger. Quote. Tsunade reprimanded loudly, as Hokage, I have long been prepared to sacrifice for the village. No matter what the situation may be, I can't leave the people in the village alone. But in the corridor, I met Danzo. Danzo didn't mean to keep her at all, but walked into Hokage's office and looked at the scattered crowd outside the window. Soon, several black figures flashed past the window. When Tsunade reached the street, most people ran past her. She went in the opposite direction, but saw Neji standing motionless in front of him, blood oozing from his waist, dyeing his white clothes red. Tsunade felt a little strange and walked forward. At this moment, many young men with pure white eyes surrounded Tsunade and Neji. When they were about to ignite the explosives, they heard a few swishing sounds, and a few black people flashed past and the young people had fallen to the ground and lost their breath. Tsunade stared at what was happening in front of him and was stunned for a while. At this moment, Neji suddenly attacked Tsunade. Tsunade was still stunned, and a few black shadows appeared again, but this time they were stopped by Tsunade. Otherwise, I am afraid that even Neji will be killed. Neji fainted at this time due to excessive blood loss. Those shadows disappeared again, and looking at these Tsunade, I understood that this was the route. For the sake of the village, he did not hesitate to kill anyone, even his own companions. When everything was done, it was already early morning, and someone from Anbu came to report. Said that the culprit of the detonation incident seemed to be caught. But all of them were taken away by the root people, and they were all taken to Lord Danzo for interrogation. Tsunade went to the root without saying a word, and was stopped outside before he even entered the door. Master Tsunade, now Danzo-sama is interrogating the prisoner, please go back. Get out of the way. Tsunade replied angrily. After that, I heard a reprimand coming from the house, and Tsunade broke into the door directly, and saw Danzo pinching the neck of the old man with his hand, which was directly twisted after Tsunade came in. Danzo turned his head and said to Tsunade with a blank face, Lord Tsunade, what's the matter? Is this the prisoner who carried out the explosion? Tsunade asked coldly. It's the principal offender. Have you asked? He doesn't want to say who is behind the scenes. But the ants who want to destroy Konoha should be strangled even if they are instigated. Chapter 345 Doubt. Since it's the main culprit, why don't you hand it over to a busy for interrogation? Isn't it a bit inappropriate for you to get rid of him like this? Tsunade looked at the old man whose neck was broken by Danzo, and suppressed the anger in his heart. Danzo, who didn't follow the procedures, seemed to ignore her Hokage at all. Danzo squinted, always smiling. Don't be so troublesome, interrogating a puppet is a waste of time. Tsunade gritted her teeth in anger. She knew that she would not get any information after spending like this, so she hurried away. Obviously, Danzo has something to do with this matter. Since the establishment of Anbu, the second generation of Hokage Senju Tobarama, this underground organization of Konoha has been walking on the edge of darkness, especially during the Second Ninja World War. Yi Anbu has entangled countless interests and transactions with the outside world, and some things, even her Hokage is not clear. It seems that we need to investigate secretly. In Konoha Hospital, Neji was still in a coma because of his serious injuries, but his life was no longer in danger. However, the medical ninja who treated him discovered that Neji had a disordered chakra in his body that didn't belong to him. Is it an illusion? Kai looked solemn. Watching his student get hurt like this, he felt very uncomfortable. It's not quite like an illusion. This chakra is very naughty, and I have no way to induce it out of the patient's body. The medical ninja looked apologetic. At this time, Tsunade had come to the hospital ward. She used chakra to sense the chakra in Neji's body that did not belong to him, and then she showed panic. Lord Tsunade. Looking at her face, Kai also became nervous, looking very serious. This chakra doesn't seem to be human. Tsunade's forehead was covered in sweat, and she recalled that the chakra she knew was very similar to this chakra, which was the nine-tailed chakra in Naruto. Could it be that the chakra in Neji's body is a tailed beast? Not a human. Kai looked blank. He knew very well what it means to have a tailed beast chakra in a human body. It means a container, and it means that Neji has become a human pillar. In order to prevent things from getting worse, Tsunade completely blocked the matter, and sent Zhang Yang and Asmaban to White Wolf Village again. According to Zhang Yang's recollection, it seems that the man named Dazang was the mastermind behind him. When he attacked Dazang, he passed out in a coma, which means that Dazang is very likely still alive. So this time their mission is to capture Dazang alive. Kai, Kakashi and others stationed in Murakami raised their vigilance to protect Konoha village. In addition, Tsunade gathered a group of seal ninjas, who formed a seal class and waited by Neji's side. Because Tsunade is about to perform a medical operation on him, but it is difficult to guarantee that the evil chakra in Neji's body will attack his body. If the tailed beast is released, then the disaster of the nine-tailed invasion of Konoha more than 10 years ago will happen again. Come. After Zhang Yang and others received the news, they rushed to White Wolf Village. Asma, it's rare that you didn't smoke this time. Lu Wan said this, but her heart became inexplicably nervous, because Asma, who was addicted to smoking, quit smoking. Something must have happened. Ah, smoking is bad for your health. Asma smiled. I know why Mr. Asma quit smoking. Ino snickered. Why? Tell me quickly, Dinky asked. Teacher Asma, do you want me to tell me? Hee hee. Ino winked at Asma. Haha, when did you know that? Asma smiled embarrassedly. What the hell is it? Don't make any detours. Dinky was a little anxious. Teacher Asma and Mr. Hong have a child. Ino happily announced the news. I only found out after I met Mr. Hong a few days ago. Mr. Asma is still hiding quite deep, hee hee. No wonder I quit smoking. Dinky was also very happy. Master Asma wants to invite us to eat barbecue. Although the atmosphere on the side was very lively, there was no expression on the faces of Zhang Yang and Shikamaru. For Shikamaru, he knew that it was very difficult for Asma to quit smoking. Even for an unborn child, he had the responsibility of a father, but Asma smoked in front of him last night. What's more, it's outdoors now, and I don't smoke in this situation. The reason is definitely not as simple as that for children. And Zhang Yang is very clear about the scene in front of him. Although the characters are somewhat different, Asma's state means that nothing good will happen next. And he thought that if they followed the direction of Naruto world, what they would face next would not be as simple as the so-called Dazo. Zhang Yang recalled Obito who appeared beside Dazang that night, and his cold sweat broke out from his body. Maybe the next thing he faced was them. Zhang Yang, when it's over, let's eat barbecue together. Asma smiled at him. Okay. Zhang Yang agreed, but he thought in his heart, if he could still live. Soon White Wolf Village arrived. Compared to before, it was surprisingly calm. Women and children could still be seen vaguely, but now there are no ghosts. Don't you think it's strange? Shikamaru looked around and analyzed. Massacre of all the male villagers is just a simple trick to use human flesh bombs. There must be no such simple tricks. Shikamaru, what did you think of? Dinky asked. No, but, we're just swaggering around like this, and there's bound to be something wrong, so I'll have to work hard for you. Shikamaru took out a small scroll from the pocket of Ninja, opened it, and laid it on the ground with both hands. Quickly seal. Spirituality. A gray sparrow was summoned from the scroll. Awesome, when did you learn psychics? Ino looked adored. She didn't expect Shikamaru to work so hard in private and even learn psychics. Actually, it's not difficult. This sparrow was sealed by the seal class before I left, and it can be summoned only by the seal, Shikamaru explained. That's right, it seems that you thought of such a situation before you set off. Asma was full of praise for Shikamaru. As expected of the son of Nara Shikahisa, his IQ really surpassed ordinary people. Next, the group hid in an uninhabited room, and Ino switched identities with the sparrow using the technique of turning his heart around. Above the messy White Wolf Village, a gray sparrow is slowly flying by. In the depths of White Wolf Village, in an open field, a group of women formed a huge circle, and at the center of them sat a man with a large knife on his back. It was Dazang. Suddenly, all the women raised their heads and howled like wolves. Ow! Chapter 346 Conflict. I saw that the sky was instantly covered with dark clouds, the thunder was rolling, and the lightning appeared and disappeared. Suddenly, white liquid overflowed from the woman's eyes. All of these liquids floated in the air and rushed into Dazo's mouth. Dazo continued to devour the white liquid, and his body began to swell until it was as big as a mountain. At this time, the women all put the thumbs of their right hands into their mouths, bit them hard, and blood flowed out. Then they smeared the blood on their left wrist and slapped their palms to the ground. Spirituality. The women shouted in unison. A sudden burst of white smoke surrounded Dazang's body, and when the smoke faded, Dazang disappeared, replaced by a huge white wolf with the size of a tailed beast, breathing fire in his eyes and making a creepy roar. In the forest on the side, 3 figures could be vaguely seen, all of them wearing black robes with striking red clouds embroidered on them, watching everything silently. One of the men wearing a red vortex mask made a deep voice. No wonder that old guy in Danzo is interested in the small white wolf village. It turns out that there is a beast comparable to a tailed beast hidden here. It seems that Dazo did not lie to me. Then try this giant beast next to see if it has the same ability as the tailed beast. After he finished speaking, he used the psychic technique, and the white wolf disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. In Konoha village, Tsunade was trying very hard to extract the chakra from Neji's body. Sure enough, she guessed right. This huge chakra is definitely not owned by human beings. Even a small part of it has amazing power. The mute and seal classes can only be in a hurry. This level of surgery requires a powerful chakra. Only the first generation of Hokage's grandson, the first generation of Tsunade, who knows the seal of the 100 heroes, can operate it. Backlash chakra, instantly killed. Sweat dripped down Tsunade's nose. She had spent too much chakra. Although the chakra in Neji's body was being drawn out little by little, the speed was very slow. If you fail to extract it, your own life will also be threatened. Just when Tsunade was at a loss, the restless chakra in Neji miraculously stopped resisting and was easily extracted by her. "What are you still doing?" Tsunade yelled at the already dumbfounded seal class. "Hurry up." The 5 seal ninjas hurried over, ripped apart the 5-meter-long seal scroll in their hands, and used the sealing technique to seal chakra inside. It was finally over. Tsunade, who had released the 100 Heroes technique, sank his head, and fell back when his center of gravity was unstable. "It's all right." Mute stood behind Tsunade to support her, and said with a smile, "Master Tsunade is awesome." "I'm fine." Tsunade staggered and stood up. Looking at the scenery outside the window, she breathed a sigh of relief. "Send Neji to the room to rest, I'll go to rest too." Before he finished speaking, a loud noise suddenly shook the entire Konoha village. A white behemoth appeared out of thin air in Konoha village, and an angry roar resounded throughout the village. For a moment, fear shrouded the hearts of every villager. Looking at the giant beast not far away through the glass, Tsunade's eyes widened, her lips vivi trembled, and a few words popped out of her throat. "This is a tailed beast." On the other hand, Jongyang and his party had already turned around and saw the scene in the village through Ino's heart. Dazang used the energy in the bodies of the women in the White Wolf village to perform a psychic technique and summon the giant beast, the White Wolf. And this huge White Wolf disappeared out of thin air, which is not a good sign. "Not good." Konoha village. Jongyang shouted. "Dazang must have gone to Konoha village to find me." "What? You mean this White Wolf is in Konoha village now?" Shikamaru also became nervous. He frowned and said, "If that's the case, we have to hurry back to Konoha village." Asma nodded, and the group came out of the house and were about to rush in the direction of Konoha. Just after running 2 steps, Asma shouted, "No good," and then rolled down quickly with a somersault. The moment he bowed his head, a red sickle flew from the top of Asma's head and brushed his hair. Asma's head was pulled back suddenly after another pause, and he was about to stab Asma's forehead. Partial doubling technique. In the nick of time, Dingji used a fist 10 times the size to punch the sickle into the air. Immediately afterwards, the 5 Konoha stopped and turned around. Standing in front of them were 2 men in red clouds and black robes. One was wearing a mask to cover it up, and his green eyes didn't look like someone to be offended. A red sickle with a black handle and a rope attached to it. "This costume, it's Akatsuki." Asma was shocked, and it seemed that the situation was a little difficult to deal with. It was said that all members of the Akatsuki organization were ninjas with strength exceeding the shadow level. "Yo, isn't this Konoha's chops? What a coincidence, ha 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 ha." The big silverback twisted his neck and smiled maliciously, and soon he locked his eyes on Asma's clothes. On the sign of, guarding the 12 ninjas, "Yo, Jiaodu, this guy seems to be able to exchange money." "Feijuan, it's rare that you have anything to do with money, it's really not easy," Jiaodu said. Shikamaru listened to their conversation and began to collect useful information in his heart. One was called Haiden and the other was called Jiaodu. Both Dingji and Ino were frightened, but the opposite was the terrifying rebel ninja. "Jongyang, let's stand it here, you go back to Konoha. If that giant beast is really what you said, Konoha's current situation is critical," Asma whispered to Jongyang. Although he was very reluctant, Jongyang knew that Dazang was definitely looking for himself. If he hurried back now, he might be able to save some Konoha villagers. Compared with the situation here, Konoha was really anxious. But as soon as he leaves, I am afraid that Asma class will really be wiped out, and Jongyang is a little undecided for a while. "Trust us," Shikamaru said aside, "you don't have to worry." Suddenly, Jongyang seemed to have thought of something. He walked to Shikamaru's ear, whispered a few words to him, and then turned around to leave. "You also believe me?" Jongyang said without turning his head. "Asma, don't forget to invite us to eat barbecue when it's over." "No problem." A smile appeared at the corner of Asma's mouth. Although he was so relaxed on the surface, he was already prepared for death in his heart. The 2 people on the opposite side didn't even know what their abilities were. Thinking of this, he glanced at Shikamaru beside him, but unexpectedly found Shikamaru surprisingly calm and thoughtful. Chapter 347 Battle. Shikamaru turned his head to stare at Asma. He said slowly, "Asma, do you think Zhang Yang is a worthy companion for us?" Asma didn't understand what he meant, but still answered seriously, "Yes, although the origin is unknown, what he did in Konoha during this time is indeed worthy of our trust." "Well, I have a plan." Shikamaru's eyes showed a firm look. Dingji and Ino looked at Shikamaru's eyes, then looked at each other, and the two nodded. At this moment, they really gave their lives to Shikamaru and teacher Asma for protection. The opposite Feijuan couldn't wait any longer, and shouted impatiently, "Have you finished the battle memory? If it is finished, then I will come over and get ready." "Come on, Feijuan," Zhao Du said and acted. "Understood, Zhao Du," Feijuan said and rushed over. Facing the two members of the Akatsuki organization who rushed over at the same time, Asmabin put his heart in his throat, especially Asma himself. He was ready to sacrifice for the three children at any time. The battle plan developed by Shikamaru in a very short period of time has been memorized by everyone, and then it is time to act. The first is Dingji's hyper-doubling technique. The giant's body is in front of the team, and his goal is to fly. At the same time, Asma locked the corner and charged towards him. It was followed by Shikamaru's shadow restraint technique, which was faster than Asma and Dingji, forcing Haiden and Kakato to distance themselves first. "What is this?" Feijuan was curious about the snake-like shadow under his feet. "Be careful, people will die," Zhao Du reminded him. "Che, this shouldn't be said to me." Feijuan looked disdainful. He inserted the sickle into the ground, then stepped on the sickle with one foot, and shouted, "If you have the ability, your shadow will fly up and catch me, ha ha ha." Ah. As a result, before Haiden could finish laughing, Shikamaru's shadow jumped up from the ground and grabbed Haiden's ankle, so he fell to the ground with a somersault and was instantly bound by the shadow. Shadow restraint, one success. Lu Wan raised a smile. It seemed that Zhang Yang didn't lie to him. This IQ called Feijuan was a bit insufficient. The horns on the side saw Feijuan's tragic appearance, and tactfully put their palms on the ground, only to see his wrist detached from his body and hit the ground with a heavy blow. Shadow. Really, Shikamaru's description is right, this guy's ability is really like this. Seeing this, Asma quickly used the ninjutsu, Wind Escape, Qilan Gale, to control the chakra knife. In the blink of an eye, the thin wires connecting the wrists were cut by Asma. Immediately afterwards, Kaoru was entangled by Shikamaru's shadow restraint technique. Shadow binding, 2 successes. "Hey, Zhao Du, it seems that these guys know our abilities very well." Feijuan became irritable, and he lost his hippie smile. Zhao didn't speak, but stared at Shikamaru, who became interested in this kid with a high IQ. "Asma, Ino, don't waste time," Shikamaru shouted with difficulty at this time. His shadow binding technique has a limited time. If he doesn't act quickly, it will be dangerous. Ino nodded and hurriedly used the heart-turning technique to exchange at the corners. Asma rushed to Haiden's side and cut off Haiden's head with a knife. Success. Success. Ding Si couldn't believe that the 4 of them managed to subdue 2 members of Xiao's organization. Hey, Feijuan's head, which had been cut off, was still active at this time. What kind of business is this? Everyone present was shocked into a cold sweat. They had long heard that the various abilities of the members of the Xiao organization were terrifying. "Dingji, it's your turn," Shikamaru reminded. "Smash his head to avoid any quarrel." "What, little devil, you dare to touch this uncle's head?" Feijuan roared at Dingqi with red eyes. "You ugly and fat pig, if you dare to come here, this uncle will take you to see the evil god." Dingji, who was still intimidated by Feijuan, was instantly furious when he heard him call him a fat pig, and his reason was instantly overwhelmed by anger. He raised his huge fist and slammed it down at Feijuan's head. "Don't call me fat pig." Boom, a choking dust was raised, and when Dingqi raised his giant hand, he saw a hole the size of a human head in the pit. "Where's the head?" Dingqi shouted in horror. At this moment, the body of Feijuan, who was lying on the side, suddenly moved. The head that should have been smashed by Dinky actually returned to Feijuan's neck at this moment, and there was a wriggling black line that was moving. Haiden's head and neck were stitched together, and on his shoulders stood exactly the hand of Kakato that had been severed by asthma. And in the black thread exposed outside the wrist, something is moving. It's the heart. This guy. Shikamaru recalled what Zhang Yang told him. Jiaodu's ability is to move his body freely, and he has 5 hearts, but Zhang Yang didn't say that Jiaodu's hand can still be free after being cut off. Activity. Almost instantly, Feijuan's head was stitched up. Before he could adapt, he couldn't wait to take revenge, so he swung his scythe towards Dingji, who was closest to him. Seeing that Dingji was about to be wounded by the scythe, Asma rushed to Dingji's side with a quick stride, pushed him away, and his cheek was cut by the scythe. Ashima! Shikamaru shouted and quickly formed the seal, and the shadow binding technique was activated again, moving in the direction of Feijuan. Boy, do you think I'll be hit twice with the same technique? Feijuan jokingly, 2 backflips dodged the shadow's attack, and then he took out a black thorn from his sleeve, and in the surprised eyes of everyone stabbed into his body. Blood flowed out of his wound, and Feijuan cried out in pain, cool. The distance was out of range, coupled with the continuous use of ninjutsu, Shikamaru's chakra was almost exhausted. Are you going to use your boring technique again? At this moment, the corners on the side actually spoke. Cut! All atheists will be sacrificed by me to Lord Cthulhu. Feijuan shouted loudly, and then drew a circle on the ground with his blood-stained feet, and then drew a triangle inside the circle, and the ceremony was completed. What? Asma was taken aback, jumped back to Shikamaru and the others in a hurry, and asked, didn't Ino control him? Ino. Dinky shook Ino, who fell to the ground, but was horrified to find that there was no movement at all. Since Ino has not returned to her body, where is she at this moment? Chapter 348 Mistake. Which little girl are you talking about? Zhao said calmly. She is now in one of the hearts in my body. It's a pity that she will never get out. Damn. Shikamaru gritted his teeth in anger, and now he feels deeply powerless and self-blame. All of this is because he is too reckless. He made a battle plan without thoroughly researching the enemy's ability, causing Ino to be trapped in Jiaodu's body. Asma's blood was collected by Feijuan. If he activates that terrifying technique, Asma will also. Seeing that Shikamaru's face was very bad, Asma comforted, don't be discouraged, don't give up easily before the last moment. Teacher Asma, what should we do now? Dinky was already scared to the point of tears welling up in the corners of his eyes. At the same time, Feijuan's body changed, his body gradually turned black, and there were white bones exposed, a skeleton man alive. Jiaodu also took off the red cloud black robe, revealing the 4 masks on his back, and then one of the masks swelled up suddenly and fell off his body, turning into a black monster and falling to the ground. Jiaodu squeezed the monster's neck with one hand, and it began to struggle. It's Ino. Shikamaru's mind was completely blank. No matter what method or attempt, Haiden and Horn could kill Asma and Ino in less than a second. In the end, how to do it? Is there any way? Why can't you think of anything? At the moment when Feijuan and Zhao were about to start, a vortex appeared among them, and slowly, a figure appeared from the middle of the vortex. It was the Akatsuki member with the red vortex mask, and he commanded in a low voice. Enough, your mission should be to capture Orway alive, not to waste time here and be beaten so badly. Cut. It's just that I ran into them while passing by. Besides, it was Jiaodu's hand that moved first. Feijuan shrugged. I'll kill you sooner or later, Feijuan. Jiaodu was obviously angry. Hey, don't worry, Xiao Jiaodu, you obviously helped me sew my head, and you said such excessive words. Feijuan laughed. Zhao didn't answer Feijuan anymore, but asked the masked man next to him. What happened? I asked you to run over here specially. The plan failed. It really isn't a tailed beast, its strength is very weak. The masked man said in an emotionless voice. You don't waste your time here. go and catch her way immediately, these ants, don't worry. Ah, I'm almost ready to offer sacrifices to Lord Heretic God, you can't be so appetizing. Feijuan shouted reluctantly, hey. Zhaodu, you can talk too. Zhao knew the strength of the masked man, so he let go of Ino wisely, and said, except for the 12 guardian ninjas, the rest are worthless, so I'm not in a hurry, let's do business first. Feijuan's lungs exploded after hearing this, and he wanted to say a few more words, but saw the masked man turn his head to look at him suddenly, and a writing wheel eye appeared from the hole of the mask, and for a moment it seemed that there was even air in the air. All solidified. Feijuan swallowed his saliva, no longer stubborn, but lifted the curse and returned to his original appearance. The masked man activated ninjutsu, and all three were sucked into the whirlpool. Just before disappearing, his voice sounded again. You guys go back and tell Tsunade that we will come to collect the 9 tails soon. I hope she will be more acquainted by then and will not make unnecessary struggles. It wasn't until the three of them left for a long time that Shikamaru let out a sigh of relief and fell to the ground. Due to the long-term tension, he was a little overwhelmed. This accident made him deeply aware of his inadequacies as a command ninja, as well as the blankness of his mind when facing danger. These fatal shortcomings must be corrected one by one. When Dingji saw Ino wake up, he burst into tears. Ino looked apologetic, blaming himself for screwing up. Are you all okay? Asma asked. Are Dingji and Ino injured? It's okay, Teacher Asma. Is the wound on your face okay? Dingki asked with concern. Of course it's all right. I'm very handsome, and this wound won't cause disfigurement. Asma pretended to be relaxed. In fact, he was the most nervous of the four. If it wasn't for the masked man, he would have I really don't know what to do. If you can't even protect your own students, what kind of teacher are you? Thinking of this, he felt lost for a while. Should we hurry back to Konoha village? Ino reminded. At this time, Shikamaru, who had been silent for a long time, spoke up. The person from the Akatsuki organization just said that the plan failed, and it seems to have subsided. Now the most important thing for us is to find those women who use psychics. Why on earth are they summoning giant beasts to deal with Konoha? The four of them regained their mood and went to the venue deep in the village for going. Along the way, Shikamaru lowered his head and did not speak. The emotions of Dingji and Ino were also extremely bad, and the three children were all affected by the failed battle. Actually, Shikamaru is still very impressive. Asma felt that she had to enlighten them. Do you think so? Yeah, Dingji and Ino answered in a low voice. Without knowing the details of the enemy, based on only a little information, and working out a battle plan in a very short period of time, I don't think the entire Konoha can find a few. Asma said to be honest, apart from genius ninjas like Kakashi and Itachi, it's hard to find such smart ninjas, and of course, Shikamaru's dad too. But you all almost died. Shikamaru murmured. It's not like this, think about it. In the first round, you controlled 2 members of the Akatsuki organization, and I cut off the head of one of them under your command. Although there are flaws in the end, it is still possible. Hara, after all, it's our first time against them. Seriously, Shikamaru, if we meet them a second time, are you confident in defeating them completely? Asma asked. Shikamaru thought for a while, then smiled bitterly. Although it's very troublesome, I don't want to be led by the nose all the time, if there is a next time. There must be, I have this hunch, you have to be prepared. Asma said with a smile. Before they knew it, they had arrived at the site deep in the White Wolf village, and the women were still sitting there in a circle, but they seemed to be very conscious, because they saw the ninja with the Konoha logo on their foreheads coming over, and they rushed over. Get up and run. However, Shikamaru, who had recovered a little chakra, didn't intend to let them run away just like that, so he launched a shadow imitation technique to immobilize one of the women, intending to ask something from her. Chapter 349 Dazang's Invitation. In Konoha village, under the ruins, medical ninjas are looking for and treating injured ninjas and villagers. It seems that the scale of the battle here is not small. When the huge white wolf was brought to Konoha village by the masked man using psychics, some people in the village recalled the scene more than 10 years ago. In a quiet and peaceful night, an evil-tailed beast with 9 tails appeared out of thin air. Brought unimaginable disaster. The 4th Hokage also died because of this terrorist attack. In order to seal the 9 tails, he did not hesitate to use his own life to seal it in the body of his newborn child. Iruka's parents were sacrificed in that battle, and the giant beast white wolf that appeared this time is exactly the same as when 9 tails appeared. He is someone who has experienced despair and deeply knows that the departure of his relatives will affect others. What a lot of damage. So even as a teacher at a ninja school, he has to do his best to help the people in the village. 3 generations of Hokage once said, "As long as there is a place where the leaves are flying, the fire will burn." At this moment, the will of fire has been best interpreted in the hearts of every ninja in Konoha. The Chunin members of the village were responsible for leading the villagers to escape to the shelter. The members of the Shangnan and Anbu rushed to the front line to contain the giant wolf. As Hokage Tsunade, even if she had just spent a lot of chakra to treat Neji, she still did not care. Immediately rushed to the forefront of the battle. The huge white wolf roared angrily, and it swung its huge claws to destroy the buildings of Konoha, and the ninjutsu did nothing to it at all. Kakashi, it looks like it's time to use that trick. Kai squatted half squatting and said with clenched fists in both hands, "Youth is to burn yourself and illuminate others." Of course Kakashi knew what Kai was talking about, the last gate of the 8 inner gates, the Dead Gate. If Kai opens the door to death, he will gain 10 times the strength beyond the shadow level. But in its place was his death, and those who opened the door to death could not live. Don't be so impulsive, Kai, it's not the worst time yet. Although this tailed beast is very powerful, it is not impossible to stop it. Have you forgotten that the 4th Hokage used the sealing technique to seal the 9 tails? Kaka West jumped over to hold Kai without letting him mess up. However, who would use the sealing technique that can seal the tailed beast? Kai was a little anxious. Kakashi, I'm not afraid of death. That's not what you mean. You don't open 8 doors at every turn. You only have 1 life. Don't waste it like that. Look at the top of your head. Who is that? Kakashi raised his head and pointed at the man who was standing on top of the white wolf at the moment, Uchiha Ferret. Sharing wheel eyes. Itachi stared at the white wolf's eyes and launched an illusion, controlling its actions. Gradually, the white wolf stopped moving and calmed down. As expected of the Uchiha family, the other ninjas cheered, but the excitement hadn't lasted for 10 seconds, and the rest of the atmosphere was shrouded in fear. Because the white wolf that was originally controlled by Itachi's riding wheel eye actually woke up and grabbed Itachi in his hand at an astonishing speed. What? Itachi was taken aback. You can actually unlock the illusion. Hihi, Uchiha Itachi, your shaker eye is not invincible. At this time, the white wolf spoke. No, it was the big treasure in its body. As long as you have 2 chakras, you can crack any illusion, and I have successfully become the human pillar of the white wolf, and I have reached an agreement with it, so I am immune to illusion. The white wolf was about to crush Uchiha Itachi, when the masked man's voice came from his ear. Give him to me. Akatsuki currently needs the strength of the Uchiha family. Cut. Dazang hummed disdainfully. Then Uchiha Itachi was taken away by the masked man using time-space ninjutsu. At the same time, Jongyang finally arrived at Konoha village. He flew into the sky and landed on the top of White Wolf's head. He walked up to White Wolf's huge eyes, and there was a hint of playfulness in his eyes. Stay safe, Dazang. The atmosphere was extremely cold in an instant. Beilong Red Eyes let out a heavy snort. The corners of his mouth pulled out involuntarily, and his sharp fangs were exposed, looking like he was about to tear Jongyang to pieces. You are finally here. How about it? Let Folang come out. We are better than anyone else. Dazang said excitedly. Do you still use Folang against you? Jongyang shook his head, with boiling mist all over his body, and gradually condensed into a knife in his hand. In 5 seconds, I can chop off your head, can you believe it? It's too urgent to fight each other with the same root. Why not join forces? you and I both know the ending of Naruto World, but it's all a false picture of nothingness. The war will not disappear, and the misunderstanding between people will not disappear. It would be better to work together to create a different peaceful world and make the world quieter. Quote. I don't know what you have experienced to make you so miserable. Although this world is a little different from the original, I still believe in Naruto's forbearance. Although his method of changing the world is stupid, it is very cute. Shao organization using the extreme method of collecting tailed beasts to frighten the other 5 countries will only generate more fear. Fear will turn into anger, and anger will destroy the world. Quote. Zhang Yang, you are really not naive. Do you know why the modern world can't start a large-scale war? It's all because of the nuclear bomb. People know how terrifying its power is, and they will learn to endure when they know the pain. The same is true in the ninja world. The truth is, the ability of the 9-tailed beasts is like a nuclear bomb, which can suppress the people in this world. However, you also know what the 5 major countries are doing now, taking the tailed beasts as their own, launching wars against small countries, and changing the world. Got dark. Zhang Yang was silent. Dazang continued. I am an outsider just like you, but I am not as lucky as you, and I am not as strong as you, but I have seen death and pain in this world with my own eyes. Those small countries that you have not been to are called by the locals. I am in hell. The world is dark, only Akatsuki can bring light. How about it? Join hands with me. Nagato will not die, Jirai will not die, Rin will not die, many people who should have died will not die, there is only peace in the world. Come on, let's work together to make the world peaceful. I have to say that there is some truth to what you said, but I have a question I want to ask you. Zhang Yang stared at Bai Lang's eyes. Why, you, a useless person, would let Shao organization treat you do what you say? Of course, besides knowing the setting and ending of Naruto World, what use do you have? This time it was Dazang's turn to be silent. So, the person who controls the outside world of Dazang can draw out the Buddha in my body, and then use the power of the 9-tailed beast to summon 10 tails, so as to achieve your goal of controlling the world. Is that right, Obito? Chapter 350 The Confession. Obito was not at all surprised to be called by Zhang Yang's real name. He knew that Zhang Yang was from another world and knew everything about it like the back of his hand. But Obito didn't have any bargaining chips. He also knew the ending of Naruto World through Oso's memory. Akatsuki organized the group to destroy, and he was persuaded by Naruto. Finally, there was the appearance of Kagaya Otsutsuki and so on. But now that you know the ending, it's better to change him. Sure enough, it's a great kid, but you should also notice that the Naruto world you are familiar with has quietly changed, so the original set ending no longer exists. I know Akatsuki is going to perish, so I will stop it. Akatsuki is going to perish. I know that Dudu will launch the reincarnation of the Dirty Earth to bring Madara back to life, so I will prevent Madara's resurrection. I know the reincarnation of the 2 sons of Naruto and Sasuke's 6-path sages, so I will prevent their growth. When I go in the direction of my plan, Zhang Yang, do you think you have the ability to change it? Quote. Obito's remarks made Zhang Yang horrified. He realized a very serious problem. Obito had already learned everything that happened to Hokage through Dazo, so he had the ability to destroy all people and things that blocked his plan. One's own ability will definitely not be able to play any role. If Obito really successfully launched the Eye of the Moon plan, can Zhang Yang return to his own world? I'm not afraid to tell you, Itachi has been taken away by me. He won't listen to the old Danzo's words to join the Akatsuki organization by massacre, so he won't open a kaleidoscope to write round eyes, and he can't use Susanoo and Sasuke. Maybe he will embark on the process of finding his brother, but can you be sure that he will live to see Itachi? Zhang Yang retreated in his heart. He knew that leaving this world was the most important thing, and he didn't need to fight against Obito. At this moment, a voice sounded from the direction above their heads. Although I don't understand what you are saying, I will not let anyone who wants to hurt the village. Spiral pill. I saw Naruto jumping down with a spiral pill in his hand, hitting the white wolf's forehead, and the white wolf was beaten directly to the ground. Zhang Yang and Naruto jumped to a safe place. At this time, Obito appeared, and he took Bailong and Dazang away with a psychic technique. He walked up to Zhang and said to him slowly, "I can see that you are shaken. I will wait for you to change your mind." "Who are you?" Naruto had never seen this masked man before, and was about to launch a clone technique to attack him, but was grabbed by Zhang on the side. "Naruto, you are not his opponent." Zhang also stared at Obito's eyes with a hint of confusion in his eyes. At the same time, Fuleng and Zhang opened one eye, glanced at Obito contemptuously, and then continued to sleep. After that, Obito launched the time-space ninjutsu and left. He knew very well that Zhang had been shaken. This time, he used the White Wolf to attack Konoha village to test Zhang. The goal had been achieved, so he stopped attacking. If Konoha village is destroyed prematurely, it may lead to the union of the 5 great powers. At this time, when they deal with the Shao organization, Shao is not necessarily an opponent of the 5 great powers, so he still needs the power of the tail beast. After the incident subsided, Zhang was called to the Hokage office. Tsunade asked Mute and the others to go out, leaving only her and Zhang. "You don't need to guess what Zhang is going to ask, so she just said it herself. I do know the masked man last night, but you know him too." As expected, Tsunade said, "Who is he?" Zhang didn't dare to look directly into Tsunade's eyes. Kakashi was already outside the door. If he knew that that person was Obito, it would be impossible for Zhang to control the development of the plot. Maybe he would destroy this because of himself. World. Seeing that Zhang was silent, Tsunade was a little anxious. "I know you are from another world, and you know our world well, but things have developed to the point where I can no longer sit still with you. Last night the news of the tailed beast in the village has been spread to other countries, and they are all angry at the tailed beast in Konoha, saying that our country of fire secretly hides the tailed beast and wants us to give an explanation." Hearing this, Zhang fully understood that the Naruto world he was familiar with no longer existed, and he made up his mind and said to Tsunade, "Every word I say next may cause the world to undergo earth-shaking changes. I don't want the world to be a mess because of me. However, the world is already in a mess, and the Akatsuki organization knows you're ending one step ahead of you, and they must act before you, so now that the moment is imminent, I will say everything." Zhang took a deep breath and said word by word, "The masked man's name is Obito, and he will gather the power of the 9-tailed beast to summon the 10-tailed, so as to realize the so-called wish of world peace." Tsunade looked at the young man in front of him. Every word that came out of his mouth was like a huge bomb, making Tsunade feel a kind of fear that she had never had before, the collision of the known and the unknown, suffocating her. "Obito, the boy who died in the Battle of Canopy Bridge." Tsunade opened his mouth in surprise. He should have died long ago. "Sir Tsunade, although it sounds incredible to you, he is indeed Obito, and he already knows the direction of the world, so he is changing the facts. I feel that the war is coming early." Zhang smiled bitterly. Aren't other countries objecting to the appearance of tailed beasts in Konoha village this time? Let's take this opportunity to hold the 5 shadows talks. We have to unite against Obito and them. Maybe, not only Obito, that man, it is also possible that it will appear. Quote. Who? Spot. Soon, Tsunade summoned the elders of Konoha village, Danzo of Anbu, and some special Junin, and held a meeting to change their worldview. At this meeting, Zhang brought Kagaya Otsutsuki to Earth, and he talked about Naruto and Sasuke's sealing of Kagaya Otsutsuki from beginning to end. He talked about it for 3 days and 3 nights, and everyone had food and accommodation in the office. Jiraiya was killed by Pain, Danzo was killed by Sasuke, the duel between Wukage and Madara Uchiha, etc. These surprising words stimulated everyone's nerves. Zhang was in charge of talking about everything, and then he went to rest. The next task is for these Konoha upper-level officials to decide how to use the known information to fight back against Akatsuki. To be honest, everyone was speechless by the huge amount of information, and it took more than a day to sort them out. This epic meeting that changed the world of ninjas later became known as the Great Change Meeting. Chapter 351 Weakness Analysis. These days when the upper class of Konoha held a meeting, Asmobin also came back from White Wolf Village. They learned from the women that Dazo told them that Konoha's ninja killed their husbands, and the purpose was to arouse the anger in the women's hearts, thereby activating the White Wolf chakra within them. But these are not important. The appearance of Obito has already indicated that he intends to declare war on the ninja world. Zhang Yang has been worrying about the past few days, and the direction of the Naruto world is completely out of his control. Although many people seem to have avoided death, there will definitely be new accidents, and no one can say for sure. Akatsuki's organization is powerful and its skills are terrible. If you don't defeat them one by one early, I'm afraid it will be difficult to deal with in the later stage. Shikamaru also thought of it with him. He was the one who witnessed the metamorphosis ability of Feiduan and Jiaodu, and he still has lingering fears. So the first thing to do when returning to Konoha is to find Zhang Yang. Although it is very troublesome, I will meet them in the end, so I have to trouble you to tell me the abilities of all the members of Akatsuki. Shikamaru also heard that the upper management of Konoha was holding a meeting to discuss countermeasures, and there are still a lot of things to prepare for the next 5 Shadows talks, so he didn't dare to delay for a moment. Zhang Yang also thinks so. Shikamaru is a tactical genius after all, and a reliable person. So he told Shikamaru. The current members of Akatsuki's organization include Pen Ludao, Xiaonan, Scorpion, Deidara, Kakato, Haiden, Ghost Shark, Obito and Ju 14. I don't know if Uchiha Itachi has any being accepted into Akatsuki, but it can't be taken lightly. Orochimaru used to be Akatsuki's member, but he has withdrawn, and it is not difficult to guarantee that Obito will accept him into Akatsuki again. After all, his reincarnation is the trump card that can reverse the entire war. Reincarnation from the dirty earth? Shikamaru asked. What kind of ninjutsu is this? A ninjutsu that can bring the dead back to life. Zhang Yang said. A forbidden technique created by the second Hokage and researched by Orochimaru. Imagine if ninjas like the first Hokage and Madara were reincarnated and confronted us. Do you think there is still hope in the ninja world? Hearing this, Shikamaru was already in a cold sweat. The first generation is the legendary god of ninjas, and Madara is also a god-level ninja who can fight against the first generation. I can't imagine it. Sir Tsunade and the others are already discussing the tactics of confrontation. After they are finished, I will suggest to start with protecting the people in Zuli. The safety of the 9-tailed beasts must be guaranteed. To be honest, at the moment we are talking, maybe there is a tailed beast that was put in the bag by Akatsuki. Zhang Yang said. The members of Xiao's organization are strong, but it's not that there is no way to deal with them. As long as they are defeated one by one, there is still hope to win, but what I worry most about is that Obito will not let them act in groups of 2. If they stay together, even if the ninjas of the entire ninja world go together, I am afraid they will not be their opponents. Is it so strong? Shikamaru was once again intimidated by Zhang Yang's description, but he wouldn't just admit it. If that's the case, then tell me about the Akatsuki organization. Time is running out. In the following time, Zhang Yang explained to Shikamaru the abilities of the members of the Xiao organization one by one. The first is Feijuan, who has an immortal body and will use ritual-type ninjutsu. As long as he collects the blood sample of the opponent's ninja, he can hurt himself in that curse mark, so as to achieve the purpose of killing the opponent. The disadvantage is that the ninjutsu is single and the IQ is insufficient. Then there is Feijuan's partner Kakato, a ninja who is proficient in the 5 dungeons, and can easily combine the 2 dungeons. From the first Hokage period to the present, the actual combat experience is above everyone in the Akatsuki organization. The scary thing is that he has 5 hearts, so a normal attack has to kill him 5 times. Afterwards, Zhang Yang explained the abilities of other Akatsuki organizations one by one according to his own memory. Shikamaru had already started to analyze it in his mind while recording. For example, the Scorpion is a long-distance puppet ninja. It is best to use fire escape against him, and his heart is also a fatal flaw. The shark's muscle sword can devour chakra, and he himself is comparable to a koala, with powerful chakra. To deal with him, he can only rely on the fighting technique ninja. Deidara is an earth escape ninja, good at using explosive clay, only thunder escape ninja can restrain and so on. The most difficult to deal with are the three ninjas of Pen Ludao, Obito and Ju. The 6 ways of pain has Rinnegan. If 6 pains appear at the same time, it is difficult for a single ninja to deal with it, especially the way of heaven in the 6 ways of pain. His ninjutsu planetary devastation can instantly destroy the entire Konoha. Obito has a strong time. Space ninjutsu, any physical attacks and ninjutsu attacks are useless. As long as he activates divine power, his body can pass through any object. It seems that only Kakashi-sensei, who also has divine power, will fight against him. In addition, there are Ju, which are divided into Black Ju and Baiju. Baiju is good at splitting and pseudomorphism. Unless the immortal chakra can perceive it, it is difficult for others to distinguish, and the ability of Heiju is unknown. Zhang Yang, what do you think Obito will do next? Shikamaru asked. I don't know at all. Zhang Yang smiled bitterly. If your world was not disrupted by me, he should be collecting tailed beasts now, and the order of collecting tailed beasts is from 1 tail to 9 tails, so that 10 tails can be summoned. However, it does not rule out that he will catch all the tailed beasts, and then seal them in order from 1 to 9. That means, Naruto will be in danger. Shikamaru said. Shao must know that we will protect Naruto, so I am worried that their mode of action is no longer a 2-person team. If they are all dispatched, Naruto will definitely not be able to keep it. Zhang Yang's worry is not unreasonable. Even if Naruto is sent to Miao Mushin, Shao also has a way to force him out. It seems that we will have to wait until the 5 Shadows talks before making a decision. It's just Konoha's power, it must be hitting the stone with an egg. Shikamaru took the collected Shao organization to find someone to discuss countermeasures, while Zhang Yang went to Naruto's house. He had something to say to Naruto. When I came to Naruto Dong's house in Konoha village, he was not at home, but on the street. Zhang Yang met Kakashi. What? It's over. Is there any countermeasure? Zhang Yang asked. No, Tsunade-sama asked me to come to you in the middle of the meeting. Kakashi put his hands in his pockets, always looking lazy. Even when he spoke, he emphasized lazily, the meeting has been deadlocked for a long time. Because Danzo didn't want to believe your words, he insisted on uniting the 5 powers to encircle the Akatsuki organization, but Tsunade-sama wanted to protect everyone Zuli. It's pointless to discuss these now. We must convene the 5 Shadows talks as soon as possible. Zhang Yang said. The ninja in charge of sending the letter has already gone to the 5 kingdoms. You are ready to pack up. We are about to leave for the Iron Country to participate in the 5 Shadows talks. Kakashi said. Chapter 352 Jiraiya's Plan. After the big change meeting attended by the upper levels of Konoha village, Zhang Yang and Tsunade and others embarked on the road to the country of iron. His task was to prove to the other 4 shadows that he was from another world and that he was not interested in Hokage. The world knows everything. At this time, another incident happened in Konoha village, and Sasuke disappeared. When Hokage left the village, Danzo was in charge of everything in the village, and he knew exactly what Sasuke was going to do. When the giant white wolf appeared, Uchiha Itachi was taken away by Obito of Akatsuki's organization. As his younger brother, Sasuke must have gone to find Itachi. But the current Sasuke's strength is very poor. Even if he is a member of the Uchiha family, he can't open the kaleidoscope blood wheel eye, and he is still a waste. Therefore, before looking for Itachi, he will definitely go to Orochimaru who once gave him the curse mark. Seek strength. Orochimaru has many forbidden techniques in his hands. Although these techniques are recorded in books, only Orochimaru has completed the research and successfully activated these techniques. For example, the reincarnation of the dirty earth. If it is true that as Zhang Yang said, the Hokage who died in the past can be reincarnated, they will be the key factor in determining the direction of the war. Danzo knows that these forbidden techniques can protect Konoha. As the root of Konoha, although he has always touched the dark abyss and is not understood by people, any decision he makes is always for Konoha's interests. Therefore, when the Anbu members stationed around Konoha reported to Danzo that Sasuke had left the village, he did not order him to be captured. His target was Orochimaru. In Konoha village, Sakura, who couldn't find Sasuke, was about to cry. She grabbed Naruto's neck and shook it vigorously. "Naruto. Where did Sasuke go? I'm really upset." Naruto looked depressed, and then said with a hilarious smile, "Isn't he just a Sasuke? Even if he disappears, isn't there still me? Go to hell." Sakura knocked Naruto into the air with one punch, and then searched for Sasuke everywhere on the street. Just 2 steps away, she saw Hinata, Shino and Toga from Class 8. "Yo, Sakura, are you going on a date with Naruto?" Ya scratched his head and laughed, and Akamaru beside him made a beep twice. "Don't talk nonsense." Sakura's face was covered with black lines, and then she saw the 3 people in front of her, and her eyes suddenly lit up. "By the way, isn't your 8th class a search class? Can you help me find Sasuke?" "Huh? Ah, Sasuke. Go find it yourself. Where else can he go besides the training ground and home?" Tooth said. "There are only these 2 places. If you want to ask why." Shino pushed his glasses and said, "Because Sasuke is a very boring person." "Yeah, Sakura," Hinata said as she secretly looked at Naruto who was beaten to death by Sakura. Xiaoying shook her head and said anxiously, "I have looked for these 2 places. I have asked many people and they have never seen Sasuke. Why do I feel that he is not in the village?" Speaking of which, Ya raised his head and sniffed the air, then said, "There doesn't seem to be any smell of Sasuke in the village." "What?" Sakura was startled. "Sasuke left the village." "Sakura, don't worry, we will help you find him," Hinata comforted. Then they rushed in the direction of the village entrance, and Naruto had just woken up from a coma and was about to follow, but was stopped by a familiar voice. "Yo, Naruto, long time no see." "Wow, lustful fairy, why are you here?" Sure enough, the white-haired man who appeared behind Naruto was Jiraiya. He walked over with a smile, pushed Naruto wretchedly and said, "How about a freshly baked intimacy paradise? Do you want to take a look? You should still look for Kakashi-sensei, I'm not interested." Naruto looked embarrassed, then thought of something and said, "But speaking of it, where is Kakashi-sensei?" "Oh, it seems that you don't know yet, he went on a tour with Tsunade." Jiraiya also pretended to be very disappointed. This old and unruly Tsunade always likes a little white face like Kakashi. Like me, she didn't even look at such a mature and attractive man. "Cut, any woman will be scared away when they see your wretched face." Naruto said, "By the way, lecherous fairy, why did you suddenly return to Konoha?" "Well, in fact, I came here specifically to find you." Zilai also winked at him. "I suddenly remembered that I still have a very powerful ninjutsu I didn't teach you, so I came back to find you." "Wow, really? What kind of ninjutsu? Is it better than Spiral Maru?" Naruto's eyes lit up. "Of course, when did I lie to you?" Zilai also laughed. Although there is really a new ninjutsu to teach Naruto, but this is not the main reason for Jiraiya's return. He heard from Tsunade that the world of ninja is about to undergo earth-shaking changes, and the war is about to break out. In order to protect his Naruto of the 9-tailed man Zuli, Tsunade asked him to come back and took Naruto to Miaomu Mountain to hide for a while. It just so happened that Jiraiya also felt that it was time to teach Naruto the immortal mode, so he came back and took him to Miaomu Mountain. "But I'm going to find Sakura now, and they're going to find Sasuke." Although Naruto kept saying he had opinions on Sasuke, he still regarded him as a friend in his heart. Sasuke was gone, so of course he wanted to find him. "You don't have to worry about it. Now you're ready to go to a place. If Sasuke is concerned, I'll just go and find them. Leave it to me and you can rest assured." He made a seal with both hands, and slapped Naruto on the forehead. Spirituality. "Ah, you won't let me bring my luggage." Naruto shouted and disappeared. "I don't have to worry about food and clothing over there. Naruto, see you at Meowmushin." Zilai also smiled, and then went to find Xiaoying and the others. After Naruto disappeared, the smiling expression on Jiraiya's face disappeared. He walked into an alley not far away and said to the empty alley, "Come out." I saw a burst of white smoke coming out of the trash cans and alleys in the alley, and the smoke dissipated, and it was actually several members of the Anbu. Jiraiya-sama, Anbu member said. Danzo-sama ordered us to protect Naruto at all times. From now on, Naruto will be protected by me, you can do whatever you want. Jiraiya said coldly. Of course he knew that these people were arranged by Danzo, and the purpose was definitely not to protect Naruto. Several Anbu members glanced at each other, then nodded, jumped onto the roof, and left. On the other side, as soon as Ya left the village, he smelled the scent of Sasuke who was lingering in the air, and he could find him by following the smell, so the group ran towards the east of the village under the leadership of Ya. Sakura, it's an extraordinary period for the village now. Although I don't know what happened, the security in the village has obviously increased. Why did Sasuke leave at this time? Shino raised his question. Sakura shook her head and didn't speak. She had never looked through Sasuke, she just wanted to be by his side, nothing else. Chapter 353 Orochimaru appears again. I still remember that when I was at the ninja school, Iruka said the name of the class. Sakura really never dreamed that she would be divided with Sasuke, so she had to show it off to Ino for a long time. Although Sasuke never had himself in his heart, perhaps not even a companion, but Sakura still loved him. Even if you are not recognized, you can at least stay by his side and watch his back. Sakura has always thought this way from beginning to end, it's just a humble girl's heart. Just when Class 8 and Sakura left the village to look for Sasuke, Jiraiya appeared in front of them, blocking their way. Teacher Jiraiya, Xiaoying greeted him. Why are you here? Yo, Sakura, long time no see. Jiraiya said. You little brats, don't leave the village without authorization at this time. Tsunade gave Nara Shikaku a mission. He and Shikamaru are waiting for you, there are task schedule. Quote. But, Sakura was still worried about Sasuke and told her to go back now, which couldn't be done. It's okay, don't worry, Sasuke will be handed over to me. Since you can all find his location, it means that you haven't gone too far. I'll go and bring him back. Zilai also said, you guys can go back to the village. Teacher Jiraiya, take it with you. Shino spread out her palm, and there was a small black bug crawling inside. The bug flapped its wings a few times and flew to Jiraiya's nose. Oh, this is? Jiraiya asked. It can help you find Sasuke more accurately, if you want to ask why. Shino explained. This bug has a strong ability to recognize smells. It has already found Sasuke's location, just follow it to find Sasuke. Okay, it's really good, Shino, then you can go back. Jiraiya glanced at Sakura and winked at her. Don't worry, it's alright. Teacher Jiraiya, one of the three ninjas, told her that, of course Sakura would not doubt his abilities, but she was still a little worried, always feeling that something bad would happen. However, Teacher Jiraiya has already said it here, and Xiaoying can't be stubborn anymore, so she just nodded and went back. After that, Shino's bug flew up and chased Sasuke with a spontaneity. Deep in the forest, Sasuke was walking in the direction of the Orochimaru base. Suddenly, a commotion came from not far away. He stopped, looked around nervously around the invisible surroundings, and slowly pressed the ninja sword on his waist with his right hand. Superior. Time seemed to stand still, and there was a tense atmosphere in the air. Sasuke, I said you would come to me one day. Orochimaru's low and hoarse voice sounded from behind him. Sasuke turned around abruptly, and he saw Orochimaru standing behind him with a smile on his face, as if he had been waiting for a long time. Orochimaru, how did you know that I was looking for you? Sasuke could vaguely guess that Orochimaru had been secretly monitoring himself, so he appeared in front of him now, and he had already figured out his whereabouts. Sasuke, I know more than this. I know everything you can't imagine. Orochimaru's eyes revealed a confident and arrogant look, he said with a smile, "The world is changing, and you need me. I don't care what the world has become, I just want to get power." Sasuke is telling the truth. He saw it with his own eyes when the masked man took Uchiha Itachi, and the red cloud and black robe also reminded him that he was organized by Akatsuki people, so Sasuke wants to be strong enough to fight against Akatsuki, he just wants to bring back his brother. Orochimaru showed an intriguing smile. He stared into Sasuke's eyes, and said, "Some things are beyond your control, some people's fate is doomed from birth. Sasuke, there is a big secret hidden in you. This secret can change the world, destroy or regenerate, it's all in your hands." Sasuke didn't understand what Orochimaru said. He knew very well that he didn't have any secrets, but Orochimaru wasn't a trickster, so he started to get confused. Just then, Jiraiya's voice sounded from behind a huge cedar tree. "It seems that you have also learned something." Jiraiya has been hiding behind the tree for a long time. He originally wanted to take him back after he found Sasuke, but Orochimaru appeared halfway. "Jiraiya, it's not just you who can understand everything about this world. Isho, Orochimaru evil charm, it's not that he is the only one from the outside world." "What?" Jiraiya was taken aback, listening to Orochimaru's tone. It seemed that other than Zhang Yang had come to the ninja world. Perhaps, Orochimaru already knew the secrets of the entire ninja world. "Yes, I met a girl from the outside world, and she told me everything." Orochimaru continued. "Including you, Jiraiya, you will end badly." For a moment, Jiraiya felt the chill coming from Orochimaru. Originally, he was ready to fight Orochimaru, but in the current form, Orochimaru, who knew everything, seemed to be able to easily kill him. And Sasuke is also determined to follow Orochimaru. If the two join forces to deal with him, Jiraiya's really not sure that he can win. However, since I promised Sakura, I have to do what I say. Thinking of this, Jiraiya's hands have begun to put together in a knotted posture. He raised his head and smiled, pretending to give himself a strong voice. "Then are you sure that you can deal with me who can play immortal mode?" However, Orochimaru didn't do anything to see him like this, just shook his head, showing a disappointed look. "Jiraiya, you still don't understand what I want. For me, there are still other things in this world. Lots of interesting things to study, so I won't waste time with you here. Okay, Sasuke, let's go. I won't let you take Sasuke away so easily. Orochimaru, originally you were just a rebel. Now, since you already know all the secrets of this world, you can't let you leave so easily." Zillai also said immediately after that. He started to make seals with his hands, and launched the attack first, fire escape. The technique of big fireballs. A flaming fireball came out of Jiraiya's mouth, and a wave of heat rushed towards his face, and Orochimaru used ninjutsu as he retreated. Spirituality. Luo Gate of Life. The Shira Gate summoned from Hell blocked Udun's attack. However, Jiraiya also deliberately distanced himself from Orochimaru. He hurriedly formed a seal and launched a ninjutsu against Sasuke, Toad Mouth Restraint. Trapped Sasuke in Toad's stomach, so that he could easily take him back. He thought that Orochimaru would stop Jiraiya Yuin, but he did nothing, just stared at Jiraiya with a sly smile. Chapter 354 The Mutiny Yahiko. "Jiraiya, I don't want to be your enemy now." Orochimaru didn't really mean to do anything. He continued, "If you can protect Sasuke's life, it's not without problems to give him to you." Jiraiya is getting more and more confused about what Orochimaru is thinking. He clearly wanted to take Sasuke away before, and now he says that again. Seeing Jiraiya's confusion, Orochimaru asked, "I wonder if that kid Zhang Yang told you about the secrets hidden in Sasuke and Naruto." "That's not true. I don't know what Zhang Yang said. It's just that Tsunade suddenly called me back, saying that the Akatsuki organization seemed to intend to start a war and asked me to protect Naruto. The rest was not explained so clearly." Zillai also said, "But it looks like you know more. Then tell me, what else is there other than the 9 tails in Naruto?" Orochimaru stared at Jiraiya and suddenly stopped talking. At this time, Zillai also seemed to have discovered something, and glanced to the side, as if something was coming. 1, 2, no, 6 ninjas in the black robes of the Akatsuki organization in the depths. Xiao Ninja, headed by him, rushed over first and threw a punch at Jiraiya's face. Jiraiya was quick-witted and raised his arm in a hurry to block his attack. After seeing the face of the ninja who attacked him clearly, Jiraiya's mind exploded with a bang, and goosebumps arose all over his body. Yahiko. Jiraiya's eyes fell to the ground in shock. He clearly saw that the person in front of him was Yahiko, a student he once accepted in Urin village. However, what made him horrified was that Yahiko's eyes were actually Rinnegan. Immediately after, 5 ninjas came out. Although the images were different, it was scary that all of them had Rinnegan eyes. It's even earlier than I thought. Orochimaru knew very well that these people appeared in front of him to kill him. Although he had already guessed that he would organize a fight with Xiao, he did not expect that the person who came was Pei. N6. Jiraiya also carefully looked at the person in front of him. Although there were some black lumps on his face, he really looked like Yahiko, but his pair of Rinnegans clearly told Jiraiya that this person was definitely not Yahiko. At this time, Tiandao, the head of Pain's 6 Paths, spoke, "Teacher Zilayi, stay safe." In a word, it was like a heavy punch slammed into Jiraiya's heart. He looked at Yahiko in disbelief and asked tentatively, "You? Really, Yahiko?" "Of course, teacher. Have you even forgotten what your students look like in the past so many years?" Tiandao's tone did not fluctuate at all, as calm as a corpse. "Hee, it looks like it's really Yahiko. It's been a long time." Jiraiya sneered with a dark face. He asked, "I don't know why. You have Nagato's Rinnegan, Nagato and Xiaonan. Who are these people behind you? These things have nothing to do with you." After Tiandao finished speaking, he looked at Orochimaru who was smiling mischievously, and said to him, "Reincarnation is a forbidden technique, and since it is a forbidden technique, it should not appear in the world, in order to achieve world peace. Wish, Orochimaru, you must die. It seems that there is no way to avoid this battle, Nagato." Orochimaru already knew that the 6 Paths of Pen were controlled by Nagato, so he bluntly said his name. But this made Jiraiya sound stupid. This person is clearly Yahiko. Why did Orochimaru call him Nagato? "Jiraiya," Orochimaru said to him at this time, "I thought you would avoid fighting Pain. It seems that some things are destined to be avoided. Although I don't understand what you are talking about, it seems that this is not just between you and them. I have to find out what happened to my students." Zilai said and prepared for battle. He touched and prayed in his heart, hoping that things were not what he imagined, and the eyes of Nagato must have appeared on Yahiko for some other reason. "I didn't expect to have the opportunity to fight side by side with you. I really miss it." There was no nervousness in Orochimaru's tone. "Is to kill them together with Jiraiya. If you miss them so much, then after they are settled, go back to Konoha with me to have a good reminiscence." Zilai also laughed. "It's not that easy. Their eyes are universal, so they are very defensive, so they must fight separately." Orochimaru said, "Nevertheless, there is a very small chance of us winning with heaven, so." "So what?" Zilai didn't understand. "The reincarnation of dirty earth." On the other hand, Tsunade and the others who went to the country of iron had already left the border of the country of fire, and along the way, Zhang Yang was worried. The appearance of Dazang sounded the alarm for him. This world is not just him as an outsider, maybe there are more outsiders who have broken into the world of Hokage. In addition, the appearance of Dazo also caused him great confusion. Why didn't he kill the man-demon killer who looked like Karayan again? This made Zhang Yang have a very bold idea in his heart. Dazo's entry into the Naruto world seems to be different from his own setting. He seems to have directly generated the original character of this world, rather than appearing as his own. Zhang Yang is still publicity, but Dazang has become a man-demon and will not be killed. What exactly does this mean? Kakashi saw that Zhang Yang had something on his mind and asked, "What's wrong?" "It's nothing, just a little worried," Zhang Yang said. "It's too quiet." Xiao didn't move at all, I thought they would ambush and attack us in the middle. It's not unreasonable. Tsunade, who was walking in the front, also said, they must have done something. Even if they didn't attack in the middle, they might be waiting for the 5 shadows to meet and think about killing us all. After all, it's the 5 shadows, they won't act so rashly. Now they should still be collecting tailed beasts, and they won't be thinking about the 5 shadows. Kakashi analyzed. In contrast, I'm more worried about whether they will believe Zhang Yang's words. It's not difficult. If they don't believe it, they will shake out all their bad things, especially about the tailed beast. These secrets that they think no other person knows are told by us, then they have to believe it. Tsunade said. Mainly, Reikage and Tsuchikage are not fuel-efficient lamps, Kakashi said. Zhang Yang felt that there was no difficulty. To convince them, the easiest way was to defeat them. At this time, Fu Lang, who had been dozing in Zhang Yang's body, woke up. He was very clear about what Zhang Yang was thinking, so he asked, are you sure? The 4 of them can kill you in seconds. What are you afraid of? I naturally have a way to deal with them. Just wait and see. Zhang Yang looked confident. Chapter 355_. The Reincarnation of Dirty Earth. Following Orochimaru's forbidden art, the 4 coffins rose from the ground. After the dust flew, the lids of the coffins were slowly opened, and all the people inside looked like they were sleeping. Looking at the 4 people who had been reincarnated by himself, Orochimaru still smiled coldly on the surface, but felt a little distressed in his heart. They are Shuiyu, Changwu, Xiangling, and Junmalu. When Obito learned that Orochimaru was likely to use Madara Uchiha reincarnated from the dirt to deal with him, he sent Penludao to the Orochimaru bases in various places to find his figure, with the purpose of never having future troubles. In the process of destroying all the Orochimaru bases, Penludao killed Suzuki, Shigego and Karen. When Orochimaru returned from a trip, only their icy corpses were left. Junmalu is the most distressed subordinate to Orochimaru. If it weren't for his physical reasons, he died of illness, I am afraid he would be the most suitable person to be the container of Orochimaru other than Sasuke. These 4 are Orochimaru's powerful subordinates, and now they have been reincarnated from the dirt, and their strength has basically doubled. Changwu's curse seal will exert the highest power. He can absorb natural power, so his curse seal is equivalent to a mortal transformation. Xiangling's perception ability is not inferior to Pen's 6 pairs of Rinnegan, but unfortunately she is already a corpse. The body has no blood, so the healing ability to restore chakra has been lost, and the Kagaya clan's Junmalu and the Ghost Lamp clan's Shuiyu have their own secret techniques, and their strength is not low. In addition, they were all reincarnated from the dirt and possessed immortal bodies. Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Junmaro, Chongo, Suzuki, and Chongo, a total of 6 people, is not impossible to defeat Pen's 6 paths. Orochimaru-sama, this is it. Junmalu was a little surprised that he could see Orochimaru again, he should have died long ago. But when he looked down at his body, he understood the reason for his resurrection, and he murmured, reincarnation from the dirt. Ah, really, people are dead and still can't stop. Shuiyu complained. Orochimaru-sama, how can you study such an immoral art? Then he turned his head to look and called out loudly, Xiangling. Why are you dead? What, do you want to die again? Xiangling snarled at Shuiyu, waving her fists. Chi, I'm already dead, what else can you do with me? Shuiyu waved his hand indifferently, and only after a few moments did he notice that he was actually able to move on his own. Ah. Orochimaru-sama, you didn't control us. Orochimaru said, look at the 6 people in front of you, all of them are members of Akatsuki's organization, very powerful, so I didn't control you, just to maximize your strength. At this moment, Tien Dao, who had been waiting for a long time, finally said, Orochimaru, there are only so many reincarnations, I'm afraid it won't be enough to deal with us. Sure enough, Orochimaru knew from his attitude that he must be waiting for his reincarnation as Madara Uchiha. But Orochimaru is not stupid. He knows that Akatsuki's purpose is to reincarnate Uchiha Madara and then kill himself. Then the reincarnation of the dirt will be unlocked, and Uchiha Madara will not be resurrected. Madara Uchiha's promise no longer exists. It's 6-6 now. I don't think we will lose. Even if you have Rinnegan, there is no way to face the undead reincarnated ninja. Orochimaru is very confident. In that case, let you feel the power of God. Tiandao took a step forward as he spoke, and the strange thing was that all the rest of Pain retreated, hid deep in the forest, and disappeared. Cut, you ran away before you even hit it. It's really weak, Shuiyu said. No, this is planetary devastation. Orochimaru knew that the visitor was not good by looking at Tiandao's posture, and he hurriedly shouted to Jiraiya, "Are you not ready yet?" Since Jiraiya's immortal mode is not learned, he needs the help of the Toad Immortal to activate the immortal mode, and the extra contract blood sentence on his face is used to channel the Fukasaku couple into himself. There's still a little time. Jiraiya's hands have been in knotted state, and he stood at the back of the team, just to successfully activate the immortal mode. At the same time, Tiandao raised the black core in his hand into the air, made a seal with his hands and shouted, "Planetary devastation." In an instant, the surrounding trees were uprooted, and even the land cracked and disintegrated into pieces, and then broke away from the Earth's gravity and flew towards the black core. And Orochimaru and the others were also attracted by this powerful gravitational force, and they were already floating in midair. As the gravitational force became stronger, they moved faster and faster toward the core. Planetary devastation belongs to the sealing technique. It is said that the moon was created by the Six Paths Immortals with planetary devastation, which was used to seal the outer body of the 10-tailed golem. It is an extremely terrifying ninjutsu with amazing destructive power, but it also has weaknesses. Shugego, Suzuki, attack that black core with the most powerful ninjutsu. As long as you destroy it, you can unlock this technique. Orochimaru yelled at Shigego. Understood. Shigego immediately ran into the curse and then used the compressed chakra shell to launch an attack. Water escape. Water and iron cannon art. Shuiyu also activated the secret art of the Ghost Lamp clan. Okay, I'll come too. At some point, a male and a female toad appeared on Jiraiya's shoulders. They were the Toad Immortal Fukasaku couple from Miaomu Mountain. Jiraiya also launched a powerful immortal art, Shanju. Super Jade Spiral Pill. The three people's long-distance ninjutsu and immortal attacks, although they could not target the core due to the gravitational interference of planetary devastation, but because the core attracts everything, their attacks are also sucked in. After a violent flash of light, the black core disappeared and planetary devastation was cracked. Little Jiraiya, why are you calling us in such a ghost place? No wonder Bunta is so angry every time. Toad Fukasaku said, looking at the tattered surroundings. Sorry, you too, Jiraiya said, this time the situation is more dangerous, and the enemy has Rinnegan on the opposite side. The Eye of the Six Paths. I didn't expect such eyes to exist in the world. Fukasaku said, since this is the case, there is no other way. Who makes you feel dangerous? Why do you have to fight? Asked Fukasaku's wife Shima. My former disciple, Jiraiya said. Disciple ________. Shima also said at this time, since he is the son of prophecy, why should he fight with you? I don't know either. It seems that something happened that made him go down the wrong path, and I heard that he died a long time ago, so I'm still not sure if it is him. Zulai also said. Chapter 356 The Abandoned Jiraiya. The failure of planetary devastation made Nagato suspicious of Orochimaru. He seems to know some secrets that he should not know, just like Obito. In addition, Teacher Jiraiya has completed the immortal mode, plus a few reincarnated undead bodies. It seems that it can't be dragged on any longer. So, all the pains appeared again at this time, and began to attack in the team's action mode. Senfa. Gomon. Jiraiya used oil, Toad Fukasaku used Feng Dun, and Shima used the magic of Fire Dun to launch towards the pains, which was enough to turn them all into ashes. However, Hungry Ghost Road rushed to the front and absorbed all the magic. Next, Shira Road launched a strange arm rocket and hit Orochimaru. However, Orochimaru didn't seem to hide at all, because someone blocked him before the missile hit him. Kunmaro's broken body recovered in just a few seconds, and he was the one who gave his life for Orochimaru. Be careful, the Hungry Ghost Realm can absorb all spells, and the Hell Realm can revive them. These two Pain are supporters and their attack power is not strong, so they should be killed first. Asura Road's strange wrist rocket is powerful, it is output. Human Road will extract people's soul, it is control. The ability of Animal Road is psychic. Objects, including ninjutsu, and their eyes are universal, be careful. Orochimaru told them all of Pain's abilities while he was in a defensive state. As the distance between the two pairs of horses continues to shorten, the melee is imminent. In the training ground of Konoha village, the ninjas of the same level called by Shikamaru, Lee, Tiantian, Neji, Hinata, Ya, Shino, Dingji, Ino and Sakura were gathered. The original Konoha 12 shinobi, but due to the absence of Naruto and Sasuke, there are only 10 left. Shikamaru was also arranged by his father to explain to them the 5 shadow talks, as well as the abilities and shortcomings of the members of the Akatsuki organization. The above is the introduction of all their abilities. Do you have any questions after listening to them? Shikamaru asked. Ya raised his hand. Just one question, where did Naruto go? He is our key protection target. Sir Tsunade's arrangement, Naruto has been taken to a very safe place. Shikamaru explained. Great, Naruto-kun, Hinata thought to herself. What about the other ninjas in the village? Neji asked. Everyone went to the meeting. Due to the extraordinary period, everyone must memorize the enemy's weaknesses and abilities by heart. Shikamaru said, but even so, the difficulty is still the same, because the enemy knows our abilities as well as the back of the hand. Then what do we do now? Tien asked. Be ready at any time, they may attack the village at any time to capture the 9 tails. Shikamaru replied. After some simple explanations, the meeting was dissolved, and the ninjas went back to their homes. However, Dingji stayed where he was and did not move. Ino noticed his abnormality and walked over to pat him on the shoulder. What's the matter, Dingji? Dingki frowned and said, do you remember the 2 members of the Shao organization we fought against? Hijuan and Jiaodu, what's wrong? Shikamaru also stayed and asked. I just have some doubts. Since Zhang Yang said that the Shao organization already knows all the secrets in the world, it means that he also knows the abilities and weaknesses of each of us. But why, at that time, Feijuan was caught by your shadow restraint technique? Ding said his doubts for the second time. Although his IQ is not enough, it does not mean that he has a bad memory. After listening to Dingji, Shikamaru recalled the scene of the battle that day, and Haiden said something like, the shadows have the ability to fly up and grab me. It seems that he does not know the role of his ninjutsu. Could it be that Obito hadn't told them yet? Or, don't even know about the soil? Dingji, you really did us a big favor this time. Shikamaru said excitedly, although I can't be sure, Obito may be unfamiliar with our abilities, and he actually doesn't fully understand the whole of the world. Which means it's possible that we can turn things around. What if he forgot to tell Haiden and them? Ino asked. So, we need a test. Shikamaru said and was about to leave. I'll go tell my father about this and analyze it with him. You go home first. After Shikamaru left, Dingji said to Ino, I'm a little scared, Akatsuki is really scary. Ino looked at his companion and understood him very well. Anyone who has seen organizational skills would have this reaction. She patted Dinky on the back and comforted. They are scary, but have you forgotten? We have fought against them, and we almost beat them. But they were almost killed, didn't they? Dinky said desperately. Dingji, how can you be so negative? Ino was a little angry. If I was caught by the members of Akatsuki, you would be alone, and all the members of Akatsuki would be on the opposite side. What would you do? Of course he tried his best to save you. Dingxi was very firm, because he would not allow anyone to hurt his companions. even if it was Longtan Tiger's den, he would not back down. Hearing him say this, Ino's eyes became gentle again, and he said with a smile, "Fool, you should find a way to escape. You can't save me by yourself, you don't have to waste your life." "No, if Ino is killed in front of me, I will never forgive myself for the rest of my life, so I am willing to die with you." Dinky. Konoha Anbu base, several Anbu members are reporting something to Danzo. "Oh, Orochimaru and Akatsuki got into a fight," Danzo said with a smile. "Sir Danzo, should we send some assistance?" "No need, let them kill each other for a while, and one of them will be eliminated. We will take action when the time comes." "But, Lord Jiraiya also. Since Jiraiya is a Konoha ninja, he should be ready to sacrifice his life for Konoha at any time. As a ninja, he must unconditionally safeguard the interests of the village." "I see, my lord. Go, keep staring." "Yes." On the other hand, the melee between Orochimaru and Pen's Six Paths is still very intense. However, because Orochimaru knows all of Pain's abilities, those who are good at ninjutsu are restrained by the fighting technique, those who are good at fighting techniques are restrained by illusions, and the ninjutsu of Tiandao is also known by him at intervals, so it seems that Orochimaru has the upper hand. Xiangling and Hell Road, who are also assisting ninjas, are all standing at the back of the two sides. Hell Road is responsible for summoning Hades to revive teammates, and Xiangling's ability seems to be useless at all. However, this is all superficial, and the role of Xiangling is not used to deal with the situation here. Instead, use chakra perception to operate the ninja behind Pen's Six Paths, Nagato. Chapter 357. The fourth Hokage appears. "I found it. There are 2 strands of chakra," Xiangling shouted. "Jiraiya, your apprentice, I'll leave it to you to deal with it." "Follow Kaling," Orochimaru said. "Is there any problem here?" Jiraiya asked. "Don't worry, don't underestimate our strength. Orochimaru trusts Junmalu and the others, after all, they are ninjas reincarnated from dirty soil." "Don't die," Jiraiya said and followed Xiangling to the place where Nagato was. However, when Nagato saw teacher Jiraiya leave, he knew that he had found his position. So Tiandao got out of the melee and released the black core again. He said to Orochimaru, "Without the immortal mode Jiraiya, can you still destroy my planetary devastation?" As the black core rose, the surrounding environment collapsed and disintegrated again, and the fragmented land was attracted by the core's super-gravitational force. "Orochimaru-sama, what should I do?" Shueyu shouted wildly while attacking the human world with her watery fist. "Are you going to die again? I really can't stand it. By the way, why didn't you bring my beheading sword? Otherwise, I would have done it one by one with one knife." "What should I do?" Junmalu worried about Lord Orochimaru, because he was not reincarnated from the dirty earth, and planetary devastation is a sealing technique. If Lord Orochimaru is sealed, he may not be able to come out again. Is it useful to attack Heavenly Dao now? "It's useless, it will be bounced off by Almighty Push." Orochimaru still looked unconcerned, his hands were already forming a seal, and this handprint was still a reincarnation of the dirt. The reincarnation of the dirty earth. The person who was reincarnated this time, wearing a white robe of Hokage, is the fourth Hokage who is called Golden Shining, Minato Nami. After seeing Minato on the stage, he activated the nine-tailed mode. The huge nine-tailed body appeared around Minato, and then he began to compress the chakra in the nine-tailed mouth, forming a large mass-tailed beast cannon. Tailed Beast Jade. A huge amount of energy was launched onto the black core, and this time, there was no need for the cursed Chongo to strike, and planetary devastation was disintegrated again. When the surroundings returned to normal again, Minato began to pay attention to the surrounding environment and people. When he saw his body and a group of Akatsuki ninjas with Rinnegan, he probably guessed what was going on. "Minato, I'm sorry I didn't release your control because of the emergency just now." Orochimaru's voice sounded from behind Minato. "I'll release it for you now." "What's going on here?" Watergate was free to move, and he asked, "Can you explain?" The 6 people on the opposite side are members of the Akatsuki organization. Their name is Pen Ludao, and the leader is Tiandao, the leader of the Akatsuki organization. Orochimaru said, I have already fought with them just now, and the reason for not reincarnating you is your teacher. Zilai was also there. I didn't want him to see you reincarnated from the dead, so he would feel bad. Jiraiya-sensei, Minato asked. Where is he now? Go to his former apprentice, Nagato. Orochimaru said. However, Nagato is also here, because the 6 pens in front of him are all controlled by him. Nagato. Minato heard this name and felt very familiar. He had also heard from his teacher back then. During the war, Mr. Jiraiya had adopted 3 students. One of them had a Rinnegan, so Minato was very impressed. It seemed that he was called Nagato. Later, because of the constant wars in Yuyan village, some of them died, and there was no news after that. It seems that a lot has happened since my death, said Watergate with emotion. Orochimaru, as expected, with the technique of reincarnation from dirty earth, your strength is unbelievable. Tiandao said at this time, it is indeed one of the 3 ninjas. So, what other tricks do you have to force me to unearth the ninja you want? Orochimaru said disdainfully. No, I want to know more now. Where did you know about Pain's so many weaknesses? Tiandao said, from the current situation, it seems that you are a bigger threat. Looks like. Orochimaru was stunned. He suddenly felt that the tone of Tiandao's words was very strange. What does it mean that you seem to be a bigger threat? Was it not their goal from the beginning? Oops. Orochimaru understood. Pain had deliberately said that their target was Orochimaru before, leading everyone to this point, when in fact, their target was Sasuke. What's the matter, Orochimaru-sama? Seeing that his face was very bad, Junmaro asked hurriedly, what's wrong? Jiraiya is also in danger. Someone must be ambushing him on his way to find Nagato. Orochimaru understood. They had planned this way from the beginning. No wonder their performance has been tepid since the battle just now. It turns out it's because he didn't use his full strength. He's been procrastinating, just waiting for Xiangling to perceive Nagato's position. Xiao, it is indeed a well-deserved reputation. At the same time, Xiangling and Kakashi, who finally left the forest, came to a wasteland. Nagato was in a cave not far away, but at this moment, there was a person blocking their way. This person has purple hair, wearing a red cloud and black robe, and wearing a rose made of paper in his hair, looking at them indifferently. Looking at the person in front of him, Zilai also felt a surge of sadness in his heart. He said with a sad expression, Xiao Nan. It's been a long time since I've seen you, and she's grown into a beautiful big girl. Teacher Jiraiya, this matter has nothing to do with you. Hand over Sasuke and wait for the arrival of world peace. Xiao Nan said coldly. Otherwise, all the stumbling blocks that block God's footsteps must be removed. I don't know what happened to you guys, but it's heartbreaking to see you become what you are now. Jiraiya said, I thought you guys are now letting go of your hatred and living a peaceful life somewhere. Life. Quote. Teacher, hatred in the world cannot be eliminated. War and hatred are synonymous with the world of ninjas. Haven't you been looking for a solution to world peace? Tell me, what did you find? Xiao Nan said, you have nothing. Find out that the world is still in constant war and chaos, and only we know that we can bring true peace. Quote. Little Jiraiya, is this child also your student? Fukasaku asked, why are all the people you teach such extremists? It's really endless. I have to rush back to cook. Can you hurry up? Zima shouted impatiently. Fuck the kid. Is this the time to say something like that? Fukasaku said, the world is undergoing tremendous changes. Can you take your mind off cooking temporarily and focus on saving the world? Cut. Stop looking down on housewives who think about what to eat every day. Shima shouted. Xiangling on the side saw 2 toads arguing, and she got goosebumps all over. She really felt that the world was going crazy. Chapter 358. The Fierce Battle. Seeing his disciple now wearing the black robe of the Xiao organization, Jiraiya felt very uncomfortable. especially when she appeared with the attitude of killing herself. This kind of sadness increased a lot. There were frequent wars in the ninja world. Nagato, Conan and Yahiko were orphans left by the war, but fortunately, they met Konoha Sanin, Jiraiya, Tsunade and Orochi, who were famous in the war at that time. When Orochimaru threatened to kill these poor orphans, Jiraiya stood up and decided to teach them ninjutsu to survive the war. When Tsunade and Orochimaru went back to Konoha, Jiraiya stayed behind, living with the three of them in an uninhabited house. Gradually, the three of them continued to learn the ninjutsu that Jiraiya taught them, especially Nagato, who has Rinnegan. His aptitude is actually much stronger than the other two. He can use all the chakra-type ninjutsu in the 6th middle school, and he has a good mentality and just wants to protect Xiaonan and Yahiko. So Jiraiya left with confidence, and looked forward to meeting his disciples again. It was later heard that they had formed an organization, which became famous in many wars and was well known to people. But I don't know how long it took. The news of the death of some of them came from the ninja world, and then they disappeared from people's sight like the world evaporated. Xiaonan, tell me, what happened to you? Zilai also asked. Teacher, this is none of your business, please hand over Sasuke, otherwise it will be a dead end. Xiaonan's tone was still cold, and there was no expression on his face, like a dead man. You are still calling me teacher, how can it be none of my business? Zilai also asked. I taught you the ability to survive in the world, and of course it is your master. There is no reason why the apprentice wants to kill the master. Why didn't you ever think of coming back to see us after you left? Xiaonan suddenly became cold. Jiraiya was speechless. Indeed, since he left them, due to various reasons, he became a ninja wandering outside Konoha village, collecting information for the village all year round. But even so, he never once went to visit his former disciple, and for a while, Jiraiya felt extremely guilty. However, you shouldn't be like this. Why are you with an evil organization like Shao? Have you forgotten that you were once an orphan? Do you want others to experience the feeling of being displaced? Jiraiya was really angry, and his tone involuntarily increased a lot. The world is still growing. Without God's guidance, it will only grow and crook. Xiaonan said. So, do you think you are a god? Jiraiya asked. It's God's messenger. God is pain. Xiaonan said and started ninjutsu, and countless pieces of paper were spliced behind her to form a pair of huge white wings, paper shuriken. A shuriken made of paper was fired from the wings on her back, hitting Jiraiya's body at a high speed. It seems that as a master, I have to teach you again. As Jiraiya said that, he formed a seal with his hands and launched ninjutsu. Needle Jizo. His hair grew rapidly, and then wrapped his body to resist Xiaonan's paper shuriken. Immediately afterwards, Jiraiya used the toad oil bomb, and the oil spit out from her mouth stuck to Xiaonan's whole body. Because Xiaonan launched the God's paper maker, her whole body turned into paper, so she is now being swept away. Oil riddled, it's hard to move. What? This is not going to work. Xiangling laughed at the side. Is it still an angel? Is that all you can do? Although Xiaonan was restricted from moving, she didn't seem worried at all, but she still looked indifferent. This guy. Zilai also vaguely felt that something was wrong. It's a bit strange. On the other hand, Pen Ludao was still in the fierce battle with Orochimaru. Due to the appearance of Shizuo Minato, the situation became extremely clear in an instant. It was obvious that Orochimaru had a much higher chance of winning. Even Pain, who has Rinnegan, is difficult to perform in front of Minato's yellow flashing Konoha, because Minato's ninjutsu, as long as you mark the opponent's body, you can use the time-space ninjutsu, Flying Thunder God's Jutsu. Reach the enemy in an instant and defeat them. In the fight just now, Watergate has left a mark on all Pain except Tiandao, and then, it is time to turn the situation over. Even after seeing Shimizu's actions, Pen Ludao didn't have time to react. Almost instantly, Shiradao and Human Dao were killed by the two spiral pills in Minato's left and right hands. And Hell Dao didn't have time to summon Hell Hades to resurrect it, and it was solved by Minato in less than a few seconds. Ah, it's really a suspenseful battle. What's the use of us coming out? Are we a spectator? Suzuki said with a bit of dissatisfaction, and subconsciously peeked at Orochimaru's reaction. I didn't expect Minato's strength to be so strong. Orochimaru has a much gentler personality than before, probably because the more he knows, the better his temper will be. Is this a teleportation technique? It's fast, Shigego said. No, this is time-space ninjutsu, which is much faster than the instant body technique. Orochimaru explained. It is also a ninjutsu developed by the second-generation Hokage Senju Tobirama, which was used to the extreme by Minato. Ah, this second-generation Hokage is so powerful. I remember that he also developed the reincarnation of the Dirty Earth, right? Shueyu asked. He is just developing and coming up with a concept, and the completion of these techniques requires the continuous study of future generations. Orochimaru recalled how many living people he killed when he was researching the reincarnation of the Dirty Earth, and how many lives it took to officially perfect this technique. He couldn't help but sigh. Time flies so fast, it is difficult for a limited life to know all the secrets of the world. However, the appearance of that girl actually told him what the whole world is like at once, and even many ninjutsu that he had never heard of were eloquent. It's really someone who is outside the world. There is a sky outside the sky, and today's Orochimaru is not interested in this ninja world at all. What he is interested in is that girl's world. In a short period of time, all pain except Tiandao was killed by Minato alone. The strength is really terrible. Just when Watergate planned to kill Tiandao's almighty push ninjutsu after the cooldown interval, he was interrupted by the arrival of a person. As expected of the legendary Yellow Flash, it actually abused our god to such a degree. Looking at the man wearing the red vortex mask, Minato instantly remembered who he was. When the Ninetales invaded Konoha village more than 10 years ago, Minato once fought against this masked man, but he didn't expect to meet him now. Orochimaru said with great interest, Minato, do you know who he is? Chapter 359, Orochimaru defeated. He's your former student, Uchiha Obito. Orochimaru shocked Minato and Obito, especially Obito. Only Uchiha Madara and Ju know his identity. Where did Orochimaru know? Could it be that he and Uchiha Madara have an intersection in secret? Obito, is it really you? Minato was surprised that Obito should have died in the Battle of Canopy Bridge long ago. How could he still be alive now? However, Obito didn't seem to want to admit it, so he quibbled. Fourth Hokage, do you believe what Orochimaru said? Obito, what a stupid name. Hehe, it's fine if you don't want to admit it. Kakashi isn't here now. Unless you take off your mask, no one will be able to prove your identity. Orochimaru explained. Who let his writing wheel? You gave it. Orochimaru, although I don't understand what you are saying, one thing is certain, the more people who know, the more damned. Obito whispered to Tiandao, and then ran in the direction of Orochimaru. I won't let you mess up. Junmalu launched the ninjutsu, Bone Vein. Dance of Grass Ferns. He inserted his hands into the ground, and saw countless sharp bones break out of the ground, attacking in the direction of Obito. However, this level of ninjutsu has no effect at all. Instead of having no intention of evading, those sharp bones passed through his feet, and Obito was not injured. No, his Sharingan has the ability of time-space ninjutsu, and any attack that touches him will be transferred to another dimension. Orochimaru said and put his finger into his mouth, biting blood and placing it on the palm of his hand. Draw a psychic contract. In order to avoid contact with Obito, Orochimaru had to distance himself from the huge snake that was channeled. Junmalu was already in front of Obito, and Obito completely ignored his fighting technique attack and passed directly behind him, and when Obito was completely behind Junmalu, he turned around and kicked Junma with one foot. Lu kicked a dozen meters away. Kimimaro. Shigego used the compressed chakra cannon to launch a long-range attack on Obito, but it was still useless, and those chakra cannons all passed through Obito's body. Seeing that he rushed in front of Chongo, Chongo stopped attacking. He was ready to take the soil through his body, and after he completely left his body, the chakra cannon condensed on his back attacked him. But Obito seemed to see through his thoughts, and punched him directly in the face. His hand didn't go through his body. At this moment, Minato launched the Flying Thunder God technique, and he was behind Obito in an instant, and a spiral pill was already rubbed out of his hand at this moment. Damn it! When was the mark made on him? Shueyu hid beside Orochimaru early and stayed with him on the head of the snake. Seeing the scene in front of him, he was a little confused. A long time ago, when the Nine Tails invaded Konoha, Minato and Obito fought. At that time, the mark of the God of Thunder was left, and this mark will never disappear. Orochimaru explained, but in this way in a short period of time, Minato saw through Obito's secrets, and he is indeed a genius ninja. Orochimaru-sama is really an encyclopedia and knows everything. Suzuki was already in awe of Orochimaru, and then he asked, but what is the secret of Obito? Why didn't I see it? When attacking Junmaru, Obito's body passed through Junmaru's body, and any attack during this period was useless to him, and when Obito's body completely came behind Junmaru, he was able to attack Junmaru. What does that mean? Orochimaru asked Suzuki. Explain. How do I know, please? I'm not a genius. If I were a genius, how could I have died so early? Shueyu was very depressed. Orochimaru-sama, just explain it directly. It's very simple. When Obito's body can pass through any object, any attack at this time is useless to him, indicating that he has launched ninjutsu, and when he can attack others, his body cannot pass through any object. It means that he didn't use ninjutsu at this time, so he said. Orochimaru was interrupted before he finished speaking. So if you attack him at this time, you will be able to hit. Shueyu finally got smart. That's right, Orochimaru said. Minato also guessed this, so when Obito attacked Shigego, he used the Flying Thunder God technique to come to him and defeat him. Seeing that the spiral pill was about to hit Obito, at this time, he suddenly heard an almighty push. Minato was thrown away by a huge elastic force, and the spiral pill did not hit Obito, and Shigego was also punched by Obito. Hit fly. It turned out to be Tiandao, and the whisper to him just before Obito attacked was saying this. He asked Tiandao to stare at Minato, and as soon as he suddenly disappeared out of thin air, he immediately attacked Obito's back with almighty push. The same Kudezu wouldn't eat a second time. After dodging Minato's attack, he rushed directly into the body of 10,000 snakes. Oops! Orochimaru jumped up hastily, away from the head of the snake. Before Shueyu could understand what it meant, he suddenly saw Obito emerge from Wanshi's head, and he was so frightened that he rolled down from Wanshi. Obito didn't pay attention to Suzuki. His goal was very clear. It was Orochimaru. Fire escape. The technique of the fireball. The big fireball spit out from Obito's throat and rushed directly towards Orochimaru. Wind done. The technique of making a big breakthrough. Orochimaru, not to be outdone, used Fengdun to resist the fireball. Immediately after Obito activated his divine power, he suddenly disappeared, and when he reappeared with the space twisted into a vortex, he was already behind Orochimaru. It's over, Orochimaru, Obito said coldly. Really? Orochimaru stretched out his hands. Hidden shadow snake hand. Several snakes gushing out of his cuffs swam back, entangling Obito. Then Orochimaru turned his neck 180 degrees, opened his mouth, and spit out a grass pheasant sword from his mouth, facing Obito's forehead. What's wrong? You don't plan to use Kamui, do you want to be killed by me like this? Orochimaru asked. No need, it's over. Beneath the mask, a scribbler was staring at Orochimaru. This is... Orochimaru's mind exploded before she realized that she had to escape, because it turned out to be an illusion. With a muffled sound, Orochimaru fell from the air, smashing a hole in the ground. Obito, who fell to the ground shortly after, unleashed his divine power and took Orochimaru to another dimension. Orochimaru disappeared, the reincarnation of the dirty earth was released, and the coffins reappeared next to Junmaru, Suzuki, Chongo, Minato, and Xiangling, and then they automatically return to the coffin, and then the coffins return to the earth one by one. Inside. Chapter 360 _ After the battle, Obito said to Tiandao, "The trouble has been solved, the remaining Naruto and Sasuke, are you sure you can bring them back?" "Why do you ask that?" Tiandao asked. "Forget it, I have doubts about your ability, Nagato," Obito said coldly. "I'll go and bring them back myself." After speaking, he went to where Jiraiya was. Outside the forest, looking at Xiangling next to him returning to the ground, Jiraiya understood that there must be something wrong with Orochimaru, but he can't care about that side now. He desperately wants to get the truth, causing Nagato and the others to change. The truth is it is now. "I am sorry Xiaonan, but I'll let you stay in the toad's belly for a while." "Teacher Jiraiya, it's useless, even if you find Nagato, it won't help, no one can stop God's footsteps. You are really obsessed." When he said that he was about to use the seal technique, just when he finished his fingerprints, there was a sudden loud noise, and a behemoth covered in blue flames appeared in front of him. This monster has a pair of large, pointed ears, a yellow right eye and a blue left eye, and serrated teeth. "Little Jiraiya, this is a tailed beast," Toad Fukusuo said in shock. "How can there be a tailed beast in this place?" 1, 2. Toad Shima counted the tails of the number-tailed beast and said, "This is 2 tails. It looks like a helper is here." Jiraiya stared at the masked man on Erway's head and said, "It's another person who knows the organization. It seems that we have to ask for help too." After speaking, Jiraiya also activated the psychic technique and summoned Meow Mushin's strongest toad boss, Wentai. Wentai's body is almost as big as a tailed beast. When he saw the tailed beast in front of him, he began to complain, "Jiraiya, why do you always let me deal with this level of enemies?" "Haha, I'm sorry, I can't help it, I always encounter enemies of this level." Zilai also laughed. "It seems that I really have a fate with the tailed beast. Last time, Naruto asked me for help when he was fighting with 1 tail, and now it is 2 tails. Wentai took a deep breath and said, "I can't bear it if I go on like this." Quote. "That's not true, boss. Maybe you can single out all the tailed beasts along the way." Zilai also joked. "By then, you will be famous in the ninja world." Cut. "I still prefer to stay in Miaomu Mountain in peace and quiet. Let others do things like fights." "Nita," Shima shouted at him, "You are so big and born to fight, how can you say such negative things?" "Yo, the 2 of you are here too." Wentai then saw the Fukusaku couple on Jiraiya's shoulders, and Jiraiya's appearance was also a little different from usual. It turned out to be the immortal mode. "Don't be careless, the masked man on the opposite side doesn't look like a fuel-efficient lamp," Fukusaku said. Obito was getting a little impatient, and he manipulated the second tail and started to attack Jiraiya and the others. The second tail slapped Jiraiya, and Wentai jumped to avoid the attack, and when he was in the air, he did not forget to launch the attack, Water Escape. Iron Gun Jade. Erway's body was flexible, and he turned over to avoid Wentai's water escape, then adjusted his posture and rushed towards Wentai again. "Jiraiya, use that, this guy is very flexible and needs a large area of attack," Wentai said. "Understood," Zilai also said. After that, Wentai and Jiraiya launched a joint ninjutsu, Fire Escape. Toad Oil Fire Bomb. The oil in Wentai's stomach combined with Jiraiya's fire escape to produce a huge oil fire bullet. Erway didn't have time to dodge, and was about to be hit by a flame bullet. At this time, a gray giant tortoise with 3 crayfish-like tails stood in front of Erway. The wall of water spit out from the giant turtle's mouth blocked the attack of the Toad Oil Fire Bomb, and the white mist generated by the collision between the fire bomb and the water wall blocked both sides. After the white fog dissipated, Jiraiya saw that this newly appeared behemoth was actually a tailed beast again. "Sanway," Wentai muttered, "the form is getting worse and worse. Little Jiraiya, who the hell is this guy, and how can he control 2 tailed beasts to fight?" Fukusaku also felt incredible. He knew only one such person, but that person could never live to the present. It seems that the nine-tailed attack on Konoha that happened more than 10 years ago was also caused by him. So far, there is only one person who can control the tailed beast. Jiraiya said, the Uchiha family, the founder, Madara Uchiha. Quote, could it be that he has lived until now? Fukasaku still couldn't believe it. How could someone in the world live for such a long time? Madara Uchiha was a character at the same time as the first Hokage, and now he has gone through 5 generations. It doesn't matter who he is, anyway, it's not good to keep getting tailed beasts out like this, Shima said. It seems that attacking the tailed beast is not feasible at present. The target should be the masked man on Urway's body, but it is not easy to attack him. Nagato is in a cave not far away. If you miss this opportunity, you won't know when you'll see him again, so Jiraiya doesn't want to retreat yet. Boss Toad, do you have the confidence to deal with these 2-tailed beasts? Jiraiya said, I want to go to the masked man. Only by defeating him can these tailed beasts disappear, otherwise the situation will be unfavorable for us. Try it, I haven't been active for a long time, let's try my luck. Wentai said and pulled out the short knife around his waist with one hand, ready for battle. At this time, Jiraiya said to Fukasaku and his wife again, please use the illusion to disturb the tailed beast. Understood. After Fukasaku and his wife finished speaking, they opened their mouths and made a toad sound. At the same time, Urway and Sanway had already launched an attack on Wentai again. Wentai responded to the enemy on both sides, and in a short while, he was caught with several bloodstains on his body. It took a while for the Fukasaku couple's illusion to be successful, and the 2-tailed beasts began to be restricted. Right now, Wentai seized the opportunity and inserted a knife into Urway's body, and then knocked Urway down with his own body. On the ground. When the time was right, Jiraiya jumped from Wentai to the masked man, and launched an immortal technique on him, Shion Fa. 1,000 needles. Jiraiya's hair instantly hardened, and the needle-like strands of hair were launched, swiftly like a torrential rain. At this distance, the instant body technique may not be able to dodge, because this move is the fastest and most wide-ranging technique in Jiraiya. However, Jiraiya didn't know Obito's ability. When the immortal technique passed through Obito's body, Jiraiya realized that this is a ruthless character, and he was too hasty. When Jiraiya passed through Obito's body, he hurriedly launched, Ninja Needle Jizo. Sure enough, Obito turned around and wanted to attack Jiraiya, but had no choice but to use the divine power again to pass his body through Jiraiya wrapped in a hairpin.